Happy Valentine's Day for all those who have someone to share this very romantic day with, and everybody else, well, I don't know what to tell. I do know what to tell you, but I'm waiting until that time says we're past 30 because I know I'm not getting monetized. Oh, we both know I'm not getting monetized anytime in the near or far future. But let's be honest. It's nice to put a little patience, a little wait on when you want to say something. But what? Okay, we're past 30 seconds. Here's what I want to say. Happy Valentine's Day to all you lucky bastards that have some, and all those who don't, like myself, who are divorced or just single because you want to, or whatever bullshit you want to tell yourself. It's okay. We understand here. This is not the judging. This is not the judging channel. This is let's shut up and drink channel. Unfortunately, I got ice cream and he doesn't drink. So here we go. So it's Alcohol Awareness Day. That's really what it is. It's not Happy Valentine's. It's go fuck yourself for it's my beer day.
You know what? As much as you talk about it, I'm a hopeless romantic too. Which just means I'm sorely disappointed in the quality of women. So
I'm a huge hopeless romantic. It's crazy. It's I blame the 80s.
Oh well, you watch too many. Oh come on! I have to blame stuff like Lord Byron. I have
Lord Byron. Jesus Christ. The only way that whole situation could be any sadder if it turns out he was buying for the attention of a guy.
Oh well, yeah. Well, I mean, he went off to go fight in the Crimean War and died, from some romantic notion.
Saint Valentine's, the saint, was a patron saint who basically told a Roman emperor to go fuck himself. I'm going to continue to marry people because that Roman emperor thought marriage made his soldiers weak. And this Catholic priest says, no, I disagree with you. I will just secretly marry people in the background. So he keeps doing this and he gets found out. He's chucked in jail. Well, their variation of jail. And because he's a priest, he can't be manhandled like, the common folk, right? Mm-hmm. So he's in prison for X amount of years. I actually don't know how many per se. And he falls in love with the warrant's daughter. And on the day of his execution, this is how the story goes. He writes a dear letter, says, da-da-da, forever yours, your Valentine. And for the next hundreds of years, us poor schmucks out there have had to live with this dude gave up his life for love. What did you give up? A Coca-Cola today? I'm trying to lose weight.
Hey, don't knock it. That's probably healthier than trying to. Well, here's the real point everyone's forgetting about, which is when I was in Iraq, they said, well, how can you tell? What was it? How can you tell a man's good to his wife? He says she's always pregnant. He says how can you tell a woman's good to her man? He's fat. she always keeps his belly full. So
there's that song from the 50s. If you want to be happy for the rest of your life, never make a pretty woman your wife. You know the song I'm talking about.
I know what you're referring to. Well, didn't Will Smith do one like that?
Well, Will Smith has got his own cross to bear with his lovely, beautiful, I don't want to get slapped in the face wife.
Well, his wife was cheating on him. Like, really? No, it was.
Speaking of cheating, Megan Fox hooked up with the clown, Machine Gun Kelly.
Okay.
Who's a rapper until Eminem, fed him his ass. Megan Fox is hot. I'm not saying she's the most brilliant woman out there. I'm not saying she's not brilliant, but she, what do I have to trade? What just get me in the door? I can do the rest of the dirty work. Absolutely gorgeous, right?
Yeah.
And that dumb son of a bitch decides to cheat on her.
I don't know. I know that I've heard some interesting things about Megan Fox. I don't mean it in a negative way. Like she likes to read just I don't want to quite call it textbooks, but she likes to read those kind of stuff that like, oh, it's a book on geology. Oh, it's a book on this. And I'm like, well, I don't know how true that is, but I've never met the woman. So all I can say is, there's a lot of women that have a lot more going for them. And but to be fair, they all get married young, and then they leave us poor schmucks to deal with whatever's left.
My God.
I still blame my romantic streak on reading too much King Arthur.
No, see, even King Arthur, the greatest king who ever lives, falls in love with somebody, but because he's too busy being kingly, this French fuck, I think he is French,
Yep.
slides into his DMs. Hey, how you doing? And off to the races we go.
Well, she went after the best fighter that he had. I mean, but yeah, I mean, and of course, there's several different versions of the stories. It's been years since I read him, but later on, she becomes what, a nun and all sorts of stuff, and or King Arthur. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it.
No, you're just right on time. We're bitching about Valentine's Day.
I'm not bitching about Valentine's Day.
I'm bitching. Okay, let's be fair.
I'll tell you when I bitch about Valentine's Day is when I have someone. That's when I bitch about Valentine's Day. The rest of the time, I'm like, oh, I dodged a bullet.
I hear people say that, and it just makes me chuckle. The only time I seem to have money is when I'm with somebody. When I'm single, I'm fucking broke all the time. Why? Because I'm drinking.
Oh, well, okay.
That's besides. No, not really, but kind of.
My whole thing is that I remember having a girlfriend. She said, well, I'd like some flowers. Like, oh, okay. We'd only been dating like a month and a half or something. Anyway, it was fairly short. I mean, I'd known her for probably about 9 or 10 months, but anyway, I got her some flowers, which were in a pot, I forgot what they were, where they would grow, it was actually a plant that was flowering. I said, well, I'll give this to her. I think that's pretty nice. And then she says, well, you know what? I like roses. Of course, she tells me this like almost on Valentine's Day. Do you know how much roses are in Valentine's Day? I'm like, holy crap.
Oh, yeah.
Like, no, this is killer. Whereas that Romanian lady, since I knew beforehand, I got her like 100 roses, and it was less than those 12, less than that 1 dozen I got because I planned ahead.
I don't know.
My whole thing is that's great, but I'm not bitter about Valentine's Day. My general rule, and this sounds horrible, is I don't want to date anywhere generally from Thanksgiving to Valentine's Day, because then you actually get to know the person and they're not using you because they feel lonely.
Or they want extra Christmas stuff.
Well, they want to feel special, and they want, ooh, look what I got. Well, look what my boyfriend got. And then, after Valentine's Day, well, there's nothing else for the next 10 months. So, you know what? You can go somewhere else. Like, oh, thanks.
I don't know. It's a catch. I mean, it's just a really weird catch. Hold on. Let's see what month I got. In my opinion, Valentine's Day is a marketing scheme in a religious disguise, your wife or your girlfriend. Well, there's also this thing like love language, and what I understand about love language is some people, I unfortunately I'm one of these poor bastards, so like to serve, not serve like yes sir, but as to give gifts of meaning. Flowers, yes, flowers have a shelf life. Chocolates, whatever. But no, it's like little tokens of love. That's more or less what they are. Just little tokens of love. And unfortunately, for some odd situation, not odd. I think I know where I got it from. But if I'm dating somebody, I don't go and buy them a new car. I don't pay off their credit card debt. I don't really do. I'm not that stupid. Maybe if I was, maybe I'd still be with somebody. I don't know.
Well, Stacey, here's my problem. I don't like feeling that I'm obligated to give gifts. I like to give gifts when I feel like it, not because of some damn day.
I get that.
That's what I hate about Valentine's Day. It's like, oh, you're just going to ignore the rest of the time. Like when I remember having one girlfriend, and every time I used to go grocery shopping, I used to bring back flowers for her. And what amazes me is all these women said they love that. They do in a certain sense, but then they completely ignore it and forget. Like, you know what? Okay, that's fine. Sometimes I think it's better just to forget Valentine's Day, let them get angry, and you just show up on weird times.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I think that's one of the best things to do. So you just pretend that you ignore Valentine's Day. You just go, well, what do you give me for Valentine's Day? And the answer is nothing.
so the funny thing is, my ex-wife hates Valentine's Day. She's basically said it's a Hallmark holiday. It doesn't exist, and the romantic in me is like, it does too.
Well, the romantic in me likes getting gifts. Again, but I don't feel. I hate feeling obligated.
Obligated, yeah. It's
Those,
like,
that's the problem that I have with Valentine's Day, and somehow acting. There are things like, oh, and sometimes, to be fair, sometimes it's just nice to do something nice for your loved one. But yeah, it's um, I don't know.
I if I'm with somebody, I it's not that I like I said, it's not that I go out and buy them amazingly expensive things because I don't have the money and YouTube doesn't pay my bills. Hell, D&D doesn't even pay my bills. It pays one of my bills though, but that's besides the point. So when I get something and the person I'm normally with knows that I'm kind of dating this guy and he's a broke son of a bitch, then when I go out and buy them something, it means something. And I've been lucky that way. But, we got 2 people in the chat.
That's too many. People are supposed to have girlfriends, not be lonely, miserable, sad guys like us.
God.
I'm laughing about the whole thing.
I was kind of got in an argument with somebody, and they're like, "You must think," and I'm like, "Please finish that line, because boy, do I have a zinger for you. You must think I'm a horrible person." And I'm like, "Well, to tell you the truth, if I thought about you at all."
Yeah. If I ever gave you a thought, I suppose I would.
Yeah, I was like, ooh.
I just love. I mean, as much as we're going back to Casablanca, those little one-liners they had, and they were much better than the stuff you see from the '80s. The '80s, you can kind of feel them coming, but that one, I mean, those were just cutting. They were really witty. They were unexpected and like, oh, okay. It's not like the Arnold Schwarzenegger where it's going through there. So,
oh my God, I was talking to my ex-wife. Why I was talking to her is always a random question, but I was talking to my ex-wife, and I was talking about Casablanca, and she's like, that was rated to be one of the most sexist movies out there. I'm like, well, how's it sexist? Please explain to me what was sexist about the movie.
I'm remembering something a little bit different. What is wrong with sexism when it comes to romance? Do you want to be treated? Because I mean, this is my favorite thing, a little bit different, which is, well, I remember we had a secretary working with a bunch of construction guys. Okay. Well, I mean, she's still there, but she worked amongst all of them. And I said, Syria, would you like to be treated like one of the guys? She says, oh, hell no. I want to be treated decently.
Yeah.
Because construction guys will rip into each other left and right. We would never say such things to Desiree.
Oh yeah, it's funny because I was starting talking to my daughter, and she's like, "Boys are mean." I'm like, "Yeah, boys are mean. We're especially mean to each other, especially if we consider each other friends."
Well, that's why when I sometimes see these women, shut up. It's not any different for men. You just aren't used to it,
Women play that game a little bit. Women play that game a whole lot different than guys do. I mean, between a woman and woman friendship, I mean, what I've seen, they could be fairly.
There's a reason most women don't like being around women.
Yeah.
I've talked to several girls. They're like, girls will backstab. They will steal each other's boyfriends. And, there's like no real code of honor in many cases. No, that's not true of all of them. But man, I've known several girls that like, I'd rather have all guy friends than women,
Yeah, guy friends, I don't normally get along with guys all that well. I've always done better with female friends than I have with guy friends. I don't know why. It's just.
Well, I had, well, there was one lady I was interested in, and she wasn't interested in me at the time. So then I, met my ex, and she, my son's mother. And then after that, but she was an author, and she wrote a book. and it was like, her dating experiences and things. I read that and I went, oh my God, she's completely nuts. Now, maybe all women are just as nuts and neurotic. The problem is when you actually see it laid out, you're just like, danger, Will Robinson, danger, danger, Will Robinson, danger. And so she was trying to get back. I guess it was like 10 years after I met her. She was interested in me, like, nope, sorry, nope, nope. Friend zone only. And boy, women are not used to that. That throws them for a loop. And you're like, nope, you're only in the friend zone. That's where you are. That's where you'll stay.
Oh yeah, no. What throws a woman off? Jesus. Oh my God. I'm not gonna say with who, because the off chance, whatever. But this one towards the end of this relationship. This was not with my ex-wife. I will say that. She was like, no, Darren. Actually, Darren. She's like, no, I don't want to. I got a headache. I gotta be up early tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Just move on with my life.
Mm-hmm.
Towards the very, very end, I figured she was feeling fairly frisky in her own right. And she was just like, hey, I'm like, no, I'm good. And she's like, what the hell do you mean? Are you cheating on me? I'm like, no, I'm just not in the mood. She's like, but guys never say no. I'm like, well,
oh my God.
What to tell you.
Oh my God, telling a woman no is like catnip to them for, Like, what? No man ever says no to me. I'm like, yep, no.
It's not only no, but right now it's hell no.
I remember she was a big girl, was not interested at all. Anyway, my friend went over there. And so I said, okay, maybe, she seemed like a cool lady. So I just hang out kind of thing. And I think it was in between semesters or something. So I was older. And I'm just talking, and I don't really care. Like, God, your cat is fat. You need to take care of it. And she was a big girl too. So she took it real personal. And then I was saying about, weaknesses for people on drugs and things. I said, well, it is a mental failing. I'm not saying that I don't give sympathy to it, but it is a mental failing that, you have to break the cycles that get you into that. But she tried to kiss me. I'm like, nope, not interested. You're how do I want to put this? You need to go through lots and lots of therapy. Nope. And she was so confused. Like, why aren't you hitting on me? Why aren't you trying to sleep with me? It's like, I'm just trying to be a nice guy that is not interested in you physically in any way, shape, or form.
Oh my God. You're being a decent guy and somebody doesn't know what to do with that? Yeah, I mean, I'm not, okay. As I'm bashing on women, I'm not really trying to bash on women. I love women. I really do. I think women are magnificently wonderful things. I mean, people to hang out with and whatnot. But at the same time, on the same coin, fucking guys, Jesus Christ. Some of the stories I've heard from my female friends of shit guys have done. My first reaction was just take a damn baseball bat to their knees and call it a day.
Well, you know what? I used to feel that way. Now it's like, you just have bad, and it's funny. Well, I have a bad choice in men. Well,
bad taste in women. So yeah, okay.
Well, I just look over at this. Well, I mean, that's how I met that Romanian lady. She said, well, you're not my type, and my type hasn't been working out. and we got along really well, except didn't get along with her friends. That's the only thing that really ruined it. But other than that, it was great. I would love talking to her and stuff, as like friends, or otherwise, but it was hilarious. It's just, women are just, I hate saying it, there's a reason that cultures would like the father will decide on who you marry, because he'll make sure you find a good man. And, that sounds horrible, but my days of romantic love feeling, it's like, nope, I don't feel like anymore.
I would not, I'm also, I think, 10 years younger than you are?
Yep.
I wouldn't mind at least one more go at one more go at it.
I'm not against it. I mean, actually, to be fair, I met this lady this weekend who was really interesting, but she didn't seem interested. I'm like, yep, I'm not going to pursue anything.
But just player Big Fat Greek Wedding. Works. No, I don't know. I don't know these things anymore.
Well, my mother says it was like that when she got married, but yeah, in the modern day, not so much. But yeah, it was.
You know, I've seen this. I've actually seen this in play back in high school. Oh yeah, you're a decent guy to girls that you don't treat like shit. You must be gay. No, I'm not gay. I was taught manners, you dumb son of a bitch. And, oh,
Well, it depends. I remember one time I was walking to a bank, things that you like. I wasn't that interested or whatever at the time, which was stupid because she was a really cute girl. But I opened the door for her, which was to me just standard. I mean, I do that for just about anybody.
yeah.
And she's like, "Oh my God, you opened the door for me!" Blah 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 blah. And in retrospect, I said, "Hey, I should have gone out with her," but no, I didn't.
Jesus.
Or, oh, there was another time I was at the like whenever I'm out with my friends, you're just joking around, not that interested. And of course, this is when I was younger and more handsome. Unlike now where I'm just mildly handsome. No, no.
I gave up on that thought years ago.
Yeah, no, I was the we were at the cashier, and I was just making jokes with my friend who was next to me. We were buying something at Central Market, and she was getting real flirty with me. And I'm like, and she hands me this. I said, what I should have done? I should have gotten a piece of paper and written it out. My phone number said, here, call it if you're interested. And walked away. But yeah, I mean, as you get older, it's funny because you'll be like, nah, go find something else. I will say this much: anyone that really wants a nice girl, it's not a nice girl, but anyone that really wants a good date, go dancing, go country dancing, go ballroom dancing, and if you can dance well, and I had a friend who did this, he had women literally lined up to dance with him, and when I mean women, I mean we're talking like 15 women were in a line waiting to dance with him.
Damn. Well,
now, Billy, he was in his 50s. They were in his 40s, so he wasn't going for really young women. But yeah, right. But I mean, he was I think it was like the vice president of the ballroom dancing and anywhere, wherever. But yeah,
I'm not only the owner, but I'm also a client.
Yeah.
No, I completely get that. When I did boxing, I take dancing lessons just because my grandma thought she'd be, she didn't want a dumb brute.
Yeah.
Then I come over to the States, and who's popular? These fucking boy bands that they're all, they all drove me nuts, but whatever. And, there's dances that weren't all that complicated if you had if you knew how to count and you had a decent rhythm.
Yep.
And I just like, fuck, let's see let's see how this works out. And it worked out. And you're absolutely right. I mean,
here's what amazes me. You don't even have to dance well. You just have to be willing to go out there. As I remember, we went, now, Millie, this wasn't anything romantic, but we went to a bar or something and with some friends and things like that before I went to Afghanistan. And one of our captain's friends was out there. She's like, I want to go dancing. You want to go dancing with me? I'm like, sure, I'll go out dancing with you. And to be fair, I completely screwed up. My friends were laughing. I was so bad. But you know what? Just the fact of going out there puts you far above other men.
It's like, those high school movies. Actually, I've seen it in high school, though, too, where the high school movies where there's like a school dance and all the girls are on one side and all the boys are. Because it's true. When you put young people together, they don't. I mean, not all young guys and not all young women. I flirted my ass off. I still flirt my ass off. Do I expect to get anywhere? No. But it doesn't hurt, damn it, until they get you for sexual harassment. But I'm like, no, I just said she had a nice ass. No, that's not what I said.
You have such pretty eyes. Oh, no.
Hey, but I just like smile, open the door for women. My grandpa thought of himself as the Irish version of James Bond, and it was amusing as hell because he'd be all wink and smile, and my grandma would just give him the dead eye, and he just right back up.
I just remember my grandmother. She had the most fun flirting with men like 50 years younger than her.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've had a few friends' grandparents. Like, aren't you so sweet? If I was 50 years younger, I'm like, you don't need to fix that statement for anybody's sanity. Yeah.
But I mean, it's not going anywhere. So sometimes it's just fun to flirt back. You're like,
Yeah,
yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
no one knows. Everyone knows it's. But I think sometimes the problem is that when people get too crass, I'm like, no. The most fun in flirting is the double entendres. It's like, did he just say what I think he did? No, I didn't. I meant at the high level, not the low level.
How some people have those like New Year's resolutions.
Uh-huh.
I kind of had a Valentine's one. If I'm single again this time next year, I'm going to be drunk and at a nudie club. I don't care which one.
My whole thing is for days like this. I'm like, man, I'm sure am glad I'm single. It's
not. I understand where you're coming from with the financial aspect of it.
It's not the financial aspect. It's as much as we talk about it, it's the expectation aspect to it that I don't like. Is well, he did this. You have to, the unrealistic expectations. Instead of it being fun and friendly, it's much more of a, well, he has to do this. He has to. I mean, what do I want to say? It feels more like a test than it does to feel like natural.
That might be true with some relationships, especially newer relationships. But I don't know.
Again, I'm not against any of these.
I had a girl a couple years ago buy me flowers on Valentine's Day. It was like awesome. I've never got anybody ever bought me flowers before. What the hell do I do with them? That's the next question.
But that's what I mean. Is the problem in most cases is it feels like you have to go all out on this instead of just saying, let's go have a fun. To me, I'll be honest, is I would much rather say, okay, and again, it's during a weekday, so let's say weekend before, weekend after. Hey, let's go do something different. Let's go do a picnic and fly a kite, and let's do things that are together rather than expensive. And that's what I would rather do. But the problem I think is sometimes is people they watch too much TV, they read too many romance novels, and instead of trying to say, hey, let's do something where we bond and get closer together, it becomes something else. It's just it's and the other problem I think, yep.
Yeah.
You know what? That's true. If she's really interested in you, she'll go wherever you want to go. It's all about you.
Man alive. Every once in a while, I'll get like, when I get depressed, I get real philosophical, which is dangerous, I believe. But, I get really philosophical. And I'm thinking to myself, I think that the universe gives you X amount of quarters, and you go up to this a slot machine, you throw a quarter, and you sometimes you get cherries, sometimes you get limes. Every once in a while, you might hit the jackpot the first time out. And I'm like, okay, I'm digging that thought. But eventually, you run out of quarters.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a really fucking depressing thought.
I don't know. I mean, part of me came back, because I know when I came back from Iraq, I was kind of interested in dating a little bit. I looked around, and I realized that dating pool wasn't that great. Now, of course, I know I was getting older, but I was looking around at the women. The dating pool wasn't that great. And the other part that started coming down as my son was getting older, I started realizing, do I want a relationship with someone else, especially if they have kids, and then I'm going to devote more time to their kids than I am to my own. And you start looking at that aspect of it. I'd just rather be single. It's there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not trying to be mean about it. It's one of these things. I'm not going to reject it if it's there, but that said, is if I really wanted to, I would go down to. Well, it's not today, but I think in 2 days they usually have line dancing at the Country Western. I guess it's the Bow Barn or whatever it's called here. You go down to the dance hall, and they'll teach you how to dance at like from 8 to like 10 or something. And I said, you know what? That's a good place just to meet women. And actually, here's the great thing, even though we're at home, this is probably the one night when you can really go find that woman that's feeling really sad and depressed for herself and take her home. You might be able to
I
a little bit
trust
of butter.
me. I I've had that thought multiple times. It's like
This,
I'm going to the bingo hall tonight on Valentine's Day. Oh yeah, you'd be amazed who's playing bingo just because it's that sad and miserable. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me?
I don't think there's anything. Well, it's just like when we were talking about dating. My view on it as I'm getting older, and I hear these guys take them out only for one drink. Don't take them out to eat, and blah blah. And all I can think is, you know what? I have gone out with women that make good money, and sometimes the cheap dates were the more fun ones that they enjoyed a lot more. And the other part is, do something you want to do. Stop trying to forget what she wants to do, and you tell her, hey, look, you want to go miniature golfing? Go figure out something that you like to do. You want to go kayaking? Go kayaking. You want to go horseback riding? Don't do it for her. Do an activity you enjoy. So if the date goes south, you don't care. You still had fun doing your stuff. And that was one. The other part is, if you're going to go out to eat, go eat at a dive bar or something else that's not, it's not more than $10 or $15 each, and that's about
Right.
it. And I always liked, I know it's a little bit different, but I always liked having dates in the mid-afternoon. And why is that? Well, one is, well, yeah, I have the rest of the day. Well, the other part is you can do a lot of stuff during the day, and if the date goes really well, you can always have it go into the night. But
Yeah.
but at night, there's not that much to do. I mean, you can go to main event, you can go a few of the things like that, but during the day, oh, let's go over here, let's go kayaking, let's go bird watching, let's go do all this stuff. When you're at night, you're kind of going to be stuck in a building, and then you're really stuck. Well, to be fair, I did once take a lady to go to a trampoline park. And no, this is when I'm in my 40s, and the same thing when she was in her 30s, and you know what? I wasn't that interested in her. I was like, okay, and she contacted me later, like, that was the most original date I've ever been on, and I went, we went because I wanted to go to a trampoline park, not because of you. And that said, it hurt my knees. I learned that I'm never going back to a trampoline park. But having an original date means a lot more than anything else.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I definitely agree. I don't know. I just, man,
I'll think. Okay, okay, let's talk about the romantic aspect. To you, what is an ideal night for Valentine's Day? We're not going to say for sex, but just saying everything.
everything but right.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the problem. I don't think I've had a proper adult Valentine's Day ever.
What is wrong with what the hell does that mean? See, for me, you know what a good ideal Valentine's Day is? We get off, we go over, we cook some food, it somehow blows up. We might have to order out because the food turned out terrible. Now, I know this doesn't happen with you,
I'll fucking cook.
Well, yeah, I know. But it doesn't usually happen with me either. But you do that, you have some fun. You might sit there, play some video games or something that's one of the best dates I ever went on, and admittedly, this wasn't Valentine's Day, was I took a girl miniature, well, actually two of them. I took her to miniature golfing, and we did that. And then we started playing video games, while we were at this was over in, was it Norwood, Chicago, right outside there. Anyway, we went over there, just had fun. It wasn't even that expensive. That's what gets me about it. Everyone's trying to impress these girls with the amount of money. No, if she's interested in you, you want to do something fun. And the other part is, if she has fun, she wants to go out with you again. If it feels stressed out, God, there's nothing worse than the interview date. Just shoot me. That's why people are like, no, you just take out for coffee. I'm like, God, no. That's a waste of my.
Yeah. I mean, I try to get as much of the, how should I put this? As much of the 21 questions or 22 questions in via chat or on the phone before. I mean, of course, there's always going to be, things you forget, or random questions that don't exactly pop in at that point. But yeah, I get you. I just, at that point, I just wanted the date to be the date. I mean, ideal date. See, for Valentine's Day, dinner, dancing. See, I'm sounding like my grandparents. Which there's nothing wrong with that. Just you can tell who raised me.
I think the last time I was with someone on Valentine's Day, that's exactly that's what I did.
It's just there's I don't know, ice skating. Not with my niece
okay.
anymore.
Well, I went ice skating, and unfortunately, this was the Polish lady I was with. She fell and busted her knee. And
Yeah.
I did that. I went another time. Well, I went another time with the veterinarian, and I fell backwards and hit my head with a hard thump on the ice. And so I pull off the side. She's looking at my eyes to see if they're dilated, see if I had a concussion. And what's hilarious is everyone acting like, oh, you'd rather go to a veterinarian than a doctor? Yes, I would. There's this snobbishness I just hate. I said the veterinarians know what the hell they're doing. No, but you know what? Short coffee shop. No, one is I hate coffee, and number two is if I'm going to spend my time. And here's the other part: is it's not just the hour that you're there; it's the time to get there. No, if I'm going to spend my time and have to go out somewhere, I'm going to do something I want to do for fun. I don't care if it's throwing axes. I don't care if we go shooting. I don't care if we make. Is that you want to share an activity together. And the other part is ideally pick an activity where you can see the type of person which is why I like miniature golfing, because you can tell highly competitive women that get over and they're like, when people are getting angry playing miniature golf, that's probably someone you want to avoid.
Oh my God! I think there's a two axe throwing bars that just appeared. I that might be the first date. Let's see what they're like with a weapon.
Well, that's the way to do it. Well, the other part is and I used to do archery. That was always fun. Go down to the range and we go shoot.
Oh yeah.
Go do an activity you want to do. That's my thing. Yeah. And don't even worry about the coffee date. If they say, "Well, go for coffee," just say, "No, thanks. I'm not interested. I'd rather go do something fun."
It's funny. You almost have to ask for verification when they say coffee date, because coffee can mean two different creatures I've found.
Well, coffee's usually on how well they know you. I'm saying it's when you're first meeting.
Oh yeah. It's like, no. Yeah. Man.
No. If you're going to do that, go for a walk. I mean, you would be better off just simply saying, "Hey, let's meet at the Botanical Gardens." Botanical Gardens are a good, cheap place to take a date and see. One is they're nice. You can go around. There's not a lot of stress. It's enough that you can feel like you have some private time, but it's still public enough that they don't feel uncomfortable, like you're going to, bury them in the back or something.
Run off with them. Yeah.
I love Botanical Gardens. Botanical Gardens work out pretty well.
Oh my God. So I'm in college years. This is very much college years. And I love karaoke. I probably shouldn't sing, but I love karaoke. I love to sing. That's always been one of my great joys in life. And I'm down in Champaign, Illinois, at this bar called Three Blind Pigs. I don't know if it's still up, but it was basically where I went there for a while. That and Murphy's. But anyways. And so this girl at the end of the bar just sitting there, just looking at her watch, ordering a beer. I'm like, hey, pointing at the bartender I know. I'm like, hey, what's her deal? She's cute, just like, what's her? Apparently she's waiting for somebody. I'm like, oh, really? What's she drinking? Guinness. I'm like, oh, really? All she needed to do was pull out a cigar and light it at that juncture, and we would have been off to the courthouse. I mean, just... so I'm like, I'll buy her next round. Just sure. Don't say, And she drinks it. She comes over and like, thanks for the Guinness. She dance. I'm like, I don't. You're drinking. No one should be drinking alone. Who are you waiting for? Well, I was on a date. I'm like, let me not be here when he shows up. I'm sorry. Enjoy the beer, and I'll make myself scarce.
Yeah.
Because I'm waiting like 2 hours before the karaoke bar I want to go to open. So I'm there for a couple Guinnesses and a ribeye sandwich. I know what I want. And she's like, well, I don't think he's going to show up. Well, you have a lovely night. She goes to walk away and she turns around, comes back, sits down. It's like, so what are you doing tonight? I'm like, going to go to a karaoke bar, thinking this was the death knell, because most people it kind of is. And she's like, "Oh, that sounds fun. Can I tag along?" Yes. And yeah, we were dating. I mean, we were good for a while, but then her parents realized I did not make the financial means that they want their daughter to be comfortable with. But yeah, no, random. Everybody bashes bars when it comes to meeting people, and it drives me crazy. Yes, yes. Not all great savory people go to bars, but not all savory people go to churches.
Well, my whole thing, well, to be fair, is I didn't like bars. Well, at the time, I don't like smoke. I don't like drinking, and and they're kind of loud. So I used to get mad for some of the things with my
That's
friends.
like three strikes you're out, man. That's
I know. Well, to be fair on this again is if you're going to go out, go to a dance club, and I don't mean and country dancing especially. You know, you can go to the EDM stuff, but if you go to country dancing,
dancing always drove me crazy. I mean, it was,
I don't
and
even
I
like the
took to
music.
it like if watched. I took to the water, to fish the water. Although my instructor's like, this might not be the thing for you. I'm like, why is that? You have too much rhythm. And I'm like, when has that ever been a bad thing when it comes to dancing?
I had a gay friend of mine. He used to get women's numbers on, and he wasn't the most attractive guy. He was a bit, he was a bit pudgy and everything, but he could dance better than just about everyone. And he would be getting girls' numbers left and right. He'd be laughing because he was gay, and say, "I just throw him away at the end of the night." Ha! Like you bastard! You pick up more women than I can, and you're not even interested in them. Anyway,
It's like having a ringer, and it's like it's just not fair.
I know. Well, you know what though? He
Did
was
you ever see that Johnny Knoxville movie? It's called The Ringer.
where he plays the retarded guy.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Actually, you know what I thought was funny was that because they used actual retarded people in there and mentally disabled and everything.
yeah. A lot of Down syndrome, but yeah,
Well, that's what I mean. But
I
it's that is that people were getting really mad at him, but I actually thought it was actually I don't think that it represented them in a bad light at all. It was one of those things, and some of the actors said they were quite happy to get the opportunity, and what it really did was show it didn't show them off in a bad light. It showed Johnny Knoxville off in a bad light, which is what it's supposed to do. And I said, yeah, it wasn't. I didn't think it was a bad film.
yeah.
It wasn't a
I
bad
actually
film.
enjoyed the hell out of that movie. I don't know. Like I said, I grew up in the '80s. This was before rom coms. This was like, oh god, what movies am I thinking? What movies am I thinking? I'm thinking Cocktails with Tom Cruise. I'm thinking
I was thinking when Harry met Sally,
Harry. Yeah, yeah. Billy Crystal and I cannot
Meg
stand
Ryan.
that one. Yeah. Movies like that. Footloose. Jesus, Footloose with Kevin Bacon and Christopher Penn and other people.
Well, a lot of them were, it's like, oh my god, yeah, but uh, I don't know. There's been a lot of things about. I will say this much, which is always funny, is all these in the culture wars, and I went, we got to turn women into men, and we got to make men more feminine. And I went, well, one is men don't like feminine men, and women don't like feminine men. So what does that leave you? That leaves you where no one wants to go see the movie. Uh,
I've known a few ball busters in my life. Women ball busters actually prefer their husbands to be their soft side. I'm not saying it's all women, but I will say they do exist. They're a rarity, and there's nothing wrong with that relationship. I've never been in that relationship.
This is one thing I hate is when they talk about outliers.
Yeah,
I said that's you can always find outliers one way or the other. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It's
right.
just I said okay, ignoring the outlier aspect. It's always what do most, which is really what you're looking for. If you're looking to make a movie and you're trying to make it niche and then more niche and then even more niche, and then you cry that it doesn't make any money, whose fault is that?
Oh my god. So I picked up my daughter today for Valentine's Day. I took her out for lunch.
Yeah.
I love being a dad. I really do. I'd love to have a house full of kids. I don't see it really ever happening, but I would love to have a house full of kids, even if the kids are not mine, per se.
Yeah.
After I turn like 27, I come to the rules. No, 24. After I turn about 24, I come to the realization: me meeting a woman at this juncture of time that does not have kids, the percentage is getting lower every year. And there's nothing wrong with that because I wasn't 100% sure I could have kids because I was in an accident when I was younger. So I'm like, whatever. And fuck, where was I going with this?
You're talking about a house full of kids.
House full of kids. So, I'm thinking, remember the outliers. There's the thing with movies. Right. That's where we're going. Man, Michael Keaton's Mr. Mom. It was unknown and unheard of for a husband to stay home and let the wife make more money if the wife, And I'm like, shit. My first marriage, I don't know if I'll ever get married again, but my first marriage, my ex-wife made more money than I did, and we had 3 kids, and we could not afford to put them in daycare. So guess who stayed home? The guy who had an all right job, or the woman who had a better job?
Well, I don't mind it too. Part of me goes, you still have to. This is what I always find playing with women. I want this, and I want that, and I want this, and then you find out when they're older, like, you did a certain thing. I wish I just had someone to say, yeah, you wanted one thing, and like I know from my ex, she told my ex-girlfriend who was divorcing my friend.
With the trouble.
He said, "Stay with the man. It's not worth it. It's just stay with the man." And the problem I think all too often is there's this idea that there's always someone better out there, and which is maybe possible, but it diminishes very quickly, especially for women. And once you have a kid, it diminishes. Once you start getting older, it diminishes. And then the other part is you don't know what you're going for, number one. And then, is it better? The problem I have with everyone, we talk about, romance and stuff. Everyone talks about that, but look, you get married to have a family. That's the only real reason to get married. Not because you're in love, because lots of marriages worked out really well when they weren't in love. Arranged marriages had a higher success rate because you married the two families together and you were expected to have kids and the family was number one. Though, that said, I got a good story about this. So I was in Iraq, and, the Muslims are allowed to marry up to 4 women.
Fuck that. I mean, that's awesome.
So anyway, I was talking to one of the Iraqis. He said, well, my wife said, if I get married, that I'm no longer going to be a man. Anyway, I said, well, I would have thought that she said, what's going to happen is you're going to leave 2 widows behind. That's what I was expecting her to say.
Hey, 28 millimeter. You want to jump in?
Uh-oh.
It's not, it's not like it's not fair, boo-hoo, poor me. It's just looking at my grandparents' marriage. Listen to the music we had back in the 80s, the movies, everything in that era was love will win. Win will beat all. I mean, Karate Kid, whatever. All these different movies, Labyrinth, Princess Bride, So, being raised by who my grandparents were, they were literally only met for a week before they got married, had a happy marriage, who were completely obsessed with each other. My grandma dies. Then my poor deaf bastard of a grandfather dies a week later. So, of course, how can that not turn somebody into a sopping, hopeless romantic, and who, being male or female, and wondering why the fuck am I still single, and why am I single on Valentine's Day when I know that I know how to be romantic. I know I was fed a bill of goods.
Well, I think that's entirely true also, but you look at it, but I listened to my grandparents were married for 50 years. My aunt was married for 50 years. Another one of my aunts, I think, has been married for over 50 years. And my parents have been married over 50 years. And yet, you look at that like, oh, okay. But I got to hear, they were like, look, you got to push through those tough times. And I think that there's this I'll tell you what I found really romantic, which boy, a lot of people don't. So when I see an old couple going shopping at the local supermarket together, trying to pick out, whatever food they're going to have, that to me has that little bit of romance in there. The touching of the hand. I get to see some of this and go, oh, okay. But I think sometimes, how do I want to put this? A lot of everyone is spoiled on what they think is the grand gesture. I think women are some of the worst, though. Is they read all these romance novels, they look at this, and they're like, you understand, relationships take work and take a lot of work, and that's the problem. That's one thing's actually my friend Ashley, we were discussing this one time. It's all these women think that it's all about getting married and their wedding day. Like your wedding day is the least important day of your marriage. It is. You get there and then then you have to work at it the rest of your life if you want to make it work. And I think all too often people like, I don't want to put the effort in. No, you got to put the effort. The other thing is, and I hate saying this, and women don't like to hear it, but the man you marry is the man you get. Number one. Number two is,
Yeah.
That's the problem. Is I'll change him. Nope. What you get is what you get. That's what you need to expect. Now, the problem that I have is women seem to change somewhere in the relationship. Like, what the hell happened to you? Oh, it was so cute when I did it before, and now you get pissed off when the exact same thing happens. What the hell?
I get that. I do get that. I mean, fuck, my ex-wife, did a full 180 while we were married. I mean, she was one way, then she went the other direction, and I apparently missed that bus.
So I remember, so my friend Julie, she was talking about her ex-husband, and she says, well, okay, it was, but I remember one thing of, she was getting frustrated because I said, well, men are super easy to manipulate. They are. All you have to do is rub sweetly on the shoulder and say, honey, will you please take out the garbage? And like, like a little puppy dog, and they'll go out and throw out the garbage. And then you come back and say, well, thank you. And you just kiss them, on the cheek or something. It doesn't have to be, over. And like, oh, she loves me. Da, 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 I said, men are super easy to manipulate. It's not that hard. And you know what I found out? She was complaining about, I think it was laundry or something. Saying, that took so much effort. I said, oh, so taking 30 seconds out of your day to be nice to your husband is more effort than you doing the laundry, which takes you 10 or 15 minutes? What the hell, lady? That tells me.
Yeah, fuck. I mean,
That's what I'm referring to. Is
in a perfect situation, not even a perfect, but in a reasonable situation. I'm going to say this now because God only knows who's going to watch this later on because it's on the internet. Apparently, lives forever. If those people are reasonable, reasonable to a certain degree, then taking out the garbage, doing laundry should not be a freaking headache.
Well, my point is that women can manipulate men to do incredibly hard tasks, or even this, if they're just willing to put in 30 seconds to a minute, and something very simple. I mean, how many fights should I get over for the dishwasher? I remember one girlfriend yelling at me, blah blah blah, and I said, okay, but you can say please. Oh my God, she was pissed off because she did not want to have to say please. I said, okay, that tells you everything. It takes you 5 seconds to say please. It takes you 5 seconds to say thank you. If you can't put the effort into there, shut the hell up and get out.
What I love are these guys out there that knew how their parents' relationship worked, which may or may not have been healthy to begin with. And the guy goes to work, he pulls in X amount of hours a day, and maybe the wife does too, because this is now the era of both people have to work. But my God, if the dishes are not done, or the laundry's not folded, or if there's not food on the table when he gets home, even though she just put in 8 hours her damn self, it's World War fucking III.
Okay, I haven't seen so much of that. Normally, whenever I see something, here's what I don't understand. You're at home all day. You can't make him dinner. You can't get up in the morning and make him breakfast. I mean, I saw one. What was it? There was a lady was making, I think, lunch for her husband, who was a trucker. So truckers work 12 to 14-hour days. I mean, they're gone. And she was saying, "Oh, I do this and I do this," and all these women are angry and screaming. And all I could think was, here's a woman that's happy to have a husband. She's taking care of him because he takes care of her, and that's the part. Now, don't get me wrong, if he's lazy and stuff like that, but most people I know that are both working, either they go out to eat or they make or the food's just slapped together and they eat it. It's not. And to be fair, here's what I don't understand. Maybe things changed after COVID, but why was it that all the women that I dated about my age couldn't cook? I, as a man, had to figure out how to cook, and I cooked pretty decently, I think. Most people liked my food. But
I'm a guy, and to be a male who knows how to cook is I don't know if it's weird. It seems to be uncommon from where I'm standing. Because I have a few girls, female friends I do have. It's like, yeah, my husband doesn't know how to cook at all. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know any man like that I hang out with, and maybe I'm just picking better people. Oh, there's 20 millimeter. Maybe I just, because all the men that I know how to cook, and now a couple of wives know how to cook. But it's now, to be fair, we aren't making like the I don't want to put this. We're not making side dishes usually. We're like, what are we having? We're having potatoes and meat. Aren't you having anything else? No, we're men.
That's not incredibly unfair, but
Well, it's like, what are you making? Well, we're making this. I mean,
I had a buddy is like, knows I cook professionally. He's like, God, you must eat like a king every night when you get home. Like, I had a bologna and cheese sandwich the other night for dinner because I didn't want to be in front of another damn stove. What the hell are you talking about?
Well, let's see. This is what I did, which was, talk about my food porn. When I was in Iraq, I used to sit there for hours watching them make steaks. That was I spent like 3 hours every Friday watching them make steaks. So I came home, I got a sous vide. Ever since I got the sous vide, going to a restaurant is just not the same.
I need to get one. And really quick, I want to say hi to Rick. How the hell are you doing?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Throw in your experiences and viewpoints. I don't even know if you're married.
Experience. I've been married for 23 years now.
So here's the better question: if you've been married, what are you doing online? Should you be, doing something, for your wife?
You gotta I gave her some slippers today, so she's really happy. So
see, it's the simple thing.
That's
right.
You're lucky in love or lucky in marriage when you could do something simple and it's not,
we've had so many like, Valentine's Days. It's kind of like, she didn't know what to get me, so I just bought myself a new cup and I said, "Hey, thanks, honey." She's like, "Oh, I like that form of shopping." Okay. Exactly.
That's why Christmas shopping came like for me as a young adult with my aunts. Like, what do you want for Christmas? How about I just give you the money?
And we've got 3 kids, and they're all grown up and everything. So, I mean, she met me way back in 97, and that was basically the end of my we had a band. We broke up the band, and our band had been going for years and years, right? So we still talk to each other. We still collaborate every once in a while, and every once in a while I'll go back home and I'll jam with the guys and stuff, and play some of our old tunes and stuff like that. So we did all our own originals, and we did cover tunes and stuff like that too for everybody's entertainment kind of thing. And when the band broke up, it was just basically, I kind of like, the women kind of were falling off, and it was kind of like, I've known my wife Karen for like years before that, since like 1990 when she first came into BC and relocated, and she was dating people, I was dating people, and it was like we knew of each other all the time, and we got along really well. But it was always a situation where I was, always preoccupied. I had a girlfriend or two girlfriends or three, and she was, usually dating one guy for a long, long time, and then he'd go, and then she'd start dating another guy, and then one time we finally just, hey, I'm single, you're single, let, let's want to go on a date, and that was basically it. So.
Well, just remember, he said one important thing here. You know, they're in BC. Once they went to the AD, it's all over. Like,
yeah,
sorry.
BC, British Columbia.
I know. I'm just teasing you on that whole thing.
Just in case people.
I've done. I mean, I've chased. There's for a long time. I used to chase.
Don't chase. That's the wrong way to go about it.
Oh yeah.
What you do if you want some sound advice on first thing you got to do is you got to have yourself a good job. I was basically a floor layer, so I would do mosaic tiles, that sort of stuff.
Oh, wow.
And I made pretty good money doing that. And then all of a sudden, like I was where was I going here? So anyways, I changed that. I'm in retail now. I had to get out of it because my knees were
I was wondering,
going downhill, right? So yeah. So yeah, we kick in carpet and all that stuff. But to be self-sufficient and have a job, have your toys, vehicles, that sort of stuff. You want to set yourself up to look reasonably successful, and that brings them in. So that's my advice is, if you have the appearance of being, a good stock, it usually works for the gals. Don't go chasing them. Like, I would say, hi, hey, how's it going? Carry on conversations and stuff like that, and get to know who they are, on a friend kind of level. You'll meet them, at a coffee shop, at a bar, or whatever it is, wherever you meet, people. I don't know where they're meeting nowadays, but
I don't know either.
I mean, I would just, if it was me today, I would just, cruise, go down to the mall, check things out and say, hey, how's it going? Kind of thing. And usually you get a good response, from a lot of people, but you have to be confident or, you got to have that, you got to have the job, the your setup, you're like self-sufficient male, and that's usually what girls will start to gravitate towards. There'll be a bit of Q&A about it. Hey, what do you do? That sort of thing. Oh, I do tile setting. I do custom mosaics and stuff like that. I make bird tiles and stuff. And create all these creations for and then they're like, oh, okay. How's that? Oh yeah, I love my job. I do this and that, get myself a car and all that stuff. Got a house.
Especially if you can do that, like go back to college when you're in your 30s. And you'll be like so far ahead of your equivalent peers.
Well, anyway, that's the thing. Yeah. You can definitely, catch yourself a good lady by, having just a good kind of trade or something like that. You just have to be, that type of a person in order to kind of get that kind of,
right.
respect from gals, and if you're confident in how you present yourself and you have things and you can provide, there's no reason why they wouldn't come and because most women will be like either, oh, I want to have a family, or oh, this guy's a cool guy, he plays guitar and all that stuff. I mean, Karen knew I played guitar for many years, and she was
so what does this mean, man? You need to teach your boys how to play guitar
It helps, you know.
It helped it.
Oh,
It helped
music
set
career.
them up. Yeah, that's right. Especially for music, because then if they're focused too much on their music, yeah, it's well, let them do that. No.
Just no, yeah, just have the confidence. Being on stage helped me with confidence. I'm normally like an introvert. I stay to myself, that sort of thing. But as soon as I hit the stage, it's like, okay, I have to bring up another personality into me in order to be the entertainer. So and then
Gotcha.
once and you develop that after a while. It's a good way if you do talks or stuff like that, debates, that sort of thing, that can get you into developing more confidence too. Doing this YouTube, you guys, and you take a look at your first video and you compare to how you are now. You're like, oh, I'm skilling up here. I used to be like,
Right.
d- welcome to my show. What I have here is D&D, and now you're just speaking naturally. So
So okay. So we got to bring this up here. Since I think we all talked about women, but we got to say, what's your favorite setting for Cypher?
my favorite setting for Cypher is Numenera itself. There's just so much you can do with that. You can play a Numenera game any kind of way. You can play it as a sci-fi. You can play it as a fantasy. It's a lot of fun, and I love the cards. If you're gonna, I know it's a gimmick, and a lot of people are like, oh, the cards cost more money, but they keep me from having to roll dice, and I mean, that sounds weird, but yeah,
No.
cipher decks are awesome. Those are great.
I actually like the Cypher.
How come you haven't unpacked them? You should be using them all the
Because-
time in all your games.
Well, you know what is I haven't done that, and sometimes you get the PDFs with them. So yeah, but I got the Strange deck.
Yeah,
they
yeah.
had a
No,
they had their-
pull them out. Use them during a sci-fi game or whatever game you're playing, D&D. Pull it out and read what the card says. Pick
Oh, yeah.
something out of there, and
sorry,
You?
there, Connell. We switched off from
No, it's fine.
pressing, but I mean, actually, what was great.
God Forsaken. Yeah, we're playing that now, so we're
Well,
running
well,
that.
Well, what I like about these books is ignoring the fact that it's just for Cypher System. Man, they have some great ideas for the whole thing. Though I need to start looking at the Strange here about
They're
that.
awesome. They're awesome. They got great illustrations through them. If the little side notes and stuff like that, his little passages and on connecting things together in the book.
Do you get
It's
the
just
PDFs for them?
great.
The
I get all the books,
well,
like
the
physical
PDF
books.
Yeah, well, the PDFs, to me, if you can get the books, get the PDFs because they're internally hyperlinked, which is fantastic. It's like on page 288, look at this. And you just click on it, and it takes you to page 288. There's none of this. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry about that, Connell.
They're good. They're really good.
They do the gold standard for PDFs. That's my view on that. Is the amount of work they put into it, where it links in, and it's fantastic. I mean, Numenera is one of those that it just seems. It's one of those I'd like to get into, but it just seems too far. And I say that, and then I have like 7 or 8 books of theirs.
Right. No, yeah, that's the trouble, is where to start with a Numenera game. And when I had my group, all I did was I started them. They were basically in a town, and what was happening was there was a like a Mad Max kind of scene where these guys were like surrounding the town and bombarding it with like all these energy weapons and stuff like that. And these guys were part of one of the packs. I can't recall the one that I had specified, but these guys were getting machines and stuff like that from the bad guys, right? So what was happening was around in the areas was this band of marauders were trying to take over everywhere and get people to pay them off in order to avoid any kind of tragic incidents. And the way that I introduced the players was they were part of this town. And they were like, they haven't heard anything from any of the other cities for a long time. And they're like, has everybody been wiped out by these guys? Like, these guys are relentless. They're just laying siege on the place. So they get charged to go forth and see whether or not there was any other towns out there. So they were given a real simple map, and away they went to the next town to go ahead and find out if there was anybody else that could help them, or were these other places laid to waste, or what. It was like they were going to find out. So then they ended up going on this travel, and that's how I started.
Yeah,
But
no,
you can start it in any way that you want.
oh, I know. As I got more books, I feel pretty good about it. But
Oh, they're great. They're great.
Oh, yeah.
That is such a killer book. That one. That is an epic. Not to spoil anything, but if you're gonna have a Numenera game, end it with that book.
Well, the Jade Colossus, I like the fact on which is like the old D&D where they actually have, as you wander through, you create the different. They have the maps for it. Well, let's see. I got the building for tomorrow, the Liminal Shore, which I need to read. I bought Break the Horizon just to see. I don't know how I feel about that one yet. And then Into the Deep, I actually liked as well. I do like underwater adventures, though I almost never run them. But I love the whole idea of underwater. But the reason I like his more, I want to call him more agnostic than Numenera, which Numenera is great because it has all the setting. But like Godforsaken, Stars on Fire, which I may buy next time they go for half off. But I have the PDF for it. And Shadow was reading all that stuff. Man, he should be go grip Stars and Fire. It goes over all sorts of different topics, the way you want to play it, and
there's a backrit right now. Right now, there's a backrit going on right now. So if people are out there that are interested in getting into all those books, they have a thing where it's just like Kickstarter, and you put in like. I think it's $160 would get you into for all the new stuff, the 3 books plus all the goals that are coming up. And like something like 300 goes for you get the whole thing, basically all their books in physical form, which is nice.
No, I still think Predation's my favorite of all of theirs that they've done.
That's a cool one. I have that one in PDF. I got that from Humble Bundle, and Humble Bundle goes ahead and puts out their bundle every once in a while for them too,
and so
which is good.
So does Bundle of Holding. My friend got Bundle of Holding, and I think I got the Bundle of Holding. He got the Humble Bundle, and together we were only missing like 3. I think that there was like 3 books that were different between the two of them. But man, anyway, I'm just saying that. You know what, Connell? This may be more your speed, actually, on how to do it.
Yeah. So, just to let you know, Connell, the books look thick, but the rules to do the whole thing only takes a few pages out of that. The rest of it is all how to build a character and how to like little paths to take for your players. So it's really cool.
Well, so the discovery. Well, again, my view is if you're looking into something, buy it during their Black Friday sales. These are like half off. But this is a beast of. I mean, it may not feel like it, but that's Discovery and Destiny. But most of it, how do I put it? The actual rules probably take what did you say, about 30 or 40 pages?
Not even. I think the actual rules are maybe about 5 pages long, and then it gives you a few examples, and then it gets into the nitty gritty of the rules, how you can kind of work them into different situations. But the basic rules is so simple, and you only use basically one chart. You don't even have to use the chart because you basically have it burned in your head after a while on the task resolution for the whole thing.
Yeah,
very easy.
Yeah, it's really easy. What I mean by this, a lot of them are ciphers, artifacts, things like that. That takes up a huge. And I love the idea. And no matter what game system you have, man, the ciphers to me are a great one-shot thing because then you don't worry about overpowering them. Even if it says, "Oh, I give you this," okay, you get that. It's like having an arrow of slaying that disappears after one use.
Exactly. Yeah.
You make sure you use it the right time, but otherwise, but I like the whole idea of some of the ciphers. But Yeah, I mean, I've been picking up the Numenera stuff over time. Um,
And the ciphers are so adaptable. There's even ciphers in there that if you roll a certain number, then it disappears or something like that. So you can have like, magic arrows or whatever it is. And as soon as you roll that one for the GM intrusion, it becomes a thing that makes those disappear. So kind of an idea behind some
and Connell, that's the basic, which is just the regular cipher, and then
Gotcha.
you I mean, and this looks huge, and don't get me wrong, it is. This is, and it's a smaller font too. I mean, this is a
Yeah.
smaller font than most of the books. So this is like 450 pages, but it probably would be like 600 plus if you were to put it in normal size. But what is that? Probably 200 pages are just powers for each individual character, and it gives you a
Yeah,
lot of
and it gives you some ideas of how to run a superheroes game. It gives you ideas of a Western game. Gives you all the kind of examples of how you would put these things together and how you would use the archetypes, that they describe in there, which how you build your characters in each kind of like a class.
yeah.
And the leveling in it is very. There's only basically seven levels, but it's not like D&D levels. You can have a level 1 tier 1 player play with a bunch of tier 3 or 4 players very easily. It's not like D&D where you have, if you got a level 1 guy playing with a bunch of level 10 guys, he's feeling like I can't do nothing. Well, in this game you can do stuff, and it's, and you can have mixed parties of different tiers. It's no problem.
Well, and I don't want to put this is, since each tier has 4 levels, internal little levels in there, but it's kind of nice having, what do you want to use? Oh, you want to be really strong. The only problem I had with Numenera is it didn't use very much might, whereas Cypher did, whereas the Cypher system had more might stuff, but they're interchangeable. That's what's great. But I love the whole idea of what they did with the Godforsaken, or whatever, Godfallen, whatever it is, where they did it like, oh, you want to play a race? We'll let you have 2 things. You can play your race and one other. So like humans get 2, whereas like a dwarf or an elf only gets, they get their racial aspect and they get one other. And I thought that was pretty cool. And he did a good job as far as, how do I want to put this? As far as a book on how to play whatever fantasy game. I'm not even saying Cypher in particular. He has really good advice in there, I think, for each of the different types of systems.
Like I said, I have to look into it. I've been wanting to do a Dresden Files style RPG game, and I know they use the Fate system, but
if you go with what's it called? The Strange would be awesome for you, Connell, if you're looking for something like that. Because then you could do, portal jumping. You can do the weird Lovecraftian kind of thing going on in the background. There's some ancient thing wanting to come into your realm, and it's bringing out these creepy kind of cultists into your world, and they're configuring stuff together in order to make this portal so that the great evil elder god can come through eventually, and that's what that entire The Strange is all about. Is you're trying to avoid having these planetvores from coming in and infiltrating your worlds.
Gotcha.
And so it gives you basically 2 distinct worlds to start off with, and plus your own, like the Earth. So you'll have like the regular Earth or however you want to configure it. And it could be like a future Earth. It could be, like a current Earth, or it could be an Earth in the past. And
Right.
and it's entirely up to you. And then you have, these weird worlds where where you as agents would go ahead and you can work together and funnel your energies together and warp into that different realm and fight whatever it is in there. But when you're in that different realm, it's kind of like that Elric or Moorcock kind of thing, where when you're in there, you're this hero or this entity or whatever,
Right.
character that you're playing in that world in order to fit in that world. So you can be Elric in this world where it's it's fantasy and everything, and you're fighting dragons and all that kind of stuff, and then you warp back into your Earth form, and you're with the rest of your guys, and you're just regular Joes or whatever, agents, or you're all bonded together by some sort of like a Dresden type of group, some form of agency that you work for, that knows about these weird things, in different universes.
Right.
Yeah, so you can have a lot of fun with it,
And Cypher is so easy for things. It's well, how toughness do you want? I mean, I remember looking at it, it's like, oh, okay, this will be a rank 6 monster, and that means that you have to require an 18. Now the question really is, do you like to roll dice? If you, as the GM, if you don't really care if you roll dice, you're okay with the Cypher system. For the people who actually
you wouldn't believe how freeing it is not to roll the dice, because then you're free to like think and look at those cards and come up with really cool ideas.
I know the argument. I've listened to Shauner and his opinion of dice-free games. At the same time, I've always been a man of chance. I love the die rolls, because yes, you're fighting in a hallway and you pull out your gun and you go bang bang, and how the story goes, you hit the creature. That's awesome. That makes sense. I get that. But when you have a D20 in your hand and you're shooting from the hip, which may or may not hit, there's a little bit more excitement for
Well, for them, it's the player rolls. The player rolls.
Yeah, the players do all the rolling.
Okay. Yeah. So you're just coming up with stuff and saying, well, what's going to happen? Again, the intrusion decks. I like some of the GM intrusions that are the subtle ciphers is what they call them. I like that aspect. And then the other part is your health is also kind of your luck if you want to push things. So if you want to really push things, you can burn a lot of health. Yeah. So you can get through that. And it's
Connell, are you familiar with Traveler? How Traveler works?
I have been reading into it. I can't seem. I don't mean this to be a bad thing, but I can't seem to get away from it.
Okay, so Traveler, you have three things: strength, dexterity, and endurance, I believe it is. Those things get dwindled away, during damage and stuff like that. So imagine this. Now we have Cypher. You have three things that dwindle away from damage. Plus, you're also using those aspects which dwindle away as kind of like that extra oomph that you're putting into an effort in order to make that roll really count. That you have that as well. So it's very similar to Traveler in that sort of sense, which I thought Shauner would gravitate towards. Plus, you have the ability to use those points as well to exhaust yourself in order to make those rolls better, like to improve your chances, also to increase your damage and all that stuff. So it's cool that way.
It does. I'm not gonna lie, it does sound cool. I just haven't found the crowd, and it's not. I shouldn't say it's a crowd to hang out with, but most of the people I'm comfortable gaming with, it's old school Pathfinder. Because of the OGL, most of the people I know are kind of phasing out of OGL and D&D and trying to find different systems. I've been in love with the Dresden Files novels, as Jim Butcher is the author, for a long time. And everybody's like, well, you need to run it through World of Darkness. I don't exactly care for the World of Darkness mechanics.
Well, but what we're saying is that this is really easy to do it with.
Right.
Yeah.
I've looked into it.
I mean, I what is the Cypher Discord or whatever it is? Cypher, what is it called? Cypher Unlimited, or anyway, that group. I've actually played with and talked to those guys that run that Discord, and that's been pretty good. Now, of course, everyone has different things about it, but it isn't quite my thing because I don't like the linearity between the 1 and the 20 because it seems equally. That's my only issue with it.
Right.
But I understand why people like it because it is so fast. It has a lot of variability. It allows you to really be the thing. And Connell, since I know that you're kind of dyslexic and it's
Not
late.
kinda.
Well, if you want to make it more interesting, you could develop, like, say, for example, instead of using the D20, you could roll two D10s, 1 to 10, 1 to 10, and
Right.
that makes that chance of that special thing happening at either end a little bit more, rare. But with that bell curve, you've got most of the chances in the center. But I'm thinking about using a 2D10 kind of system for my own kind of thing,
Yeah.
and use some of the cipher ideas from it, and also play it kind of like more like a traveler kind of game. That's what I was thinking.
So I'm going to ask you a question. Have you looked at? I mean, I have the PDFs, but they're huge. The Invisible Sun. I haven't really looked into that too much. It came
No.
up on Bundle of Holding for real cheap. It was like $20. I said, well, normally it's like $100 for the PDFs. I said, I'll buy it. And that just looks really weird and interesting. But that's one of those things like, well, maybe I just want to buy I'm more likely to read a physical book than a PDF. That's
Exactly. Me too.
that is. Once I start reading the book, if I want to look something up, I want to have the PDF. Like I'll put a PDF on my iPad, and then I'll have this. This I read for enjoyment. The PDF I use if I'm going to be running a game to see what's actually going on. Because it's really fast. Right. But no, I was just mentioning it because everyone talks about how woke and everything is, and I said I understand. Here's another question I'm going to have for you there, Rick, since you're up in Canadistan. Since these were printed in Canada, how easy is it for you to get these?
Very easy.
Okay, I was just wondering because it seems like it makes it really hard. It comes to the United States, even though it says printed in Canada, then trying to get it back across, you have to pay all these. Like, what in the world? Why can't I just buy something in Canada to send to someone in Canada?
I bought a few of the books through Monty Cook. I've actually bought my Numenera too, like the Destiny and Discovery, like you have in the slipcase. I bought that one directly through Monty Cook because he had a sale at the time. And then when I got my books, he also included a coupon.
Yeah.
So I went back and I went ahead and I bought the empty box for the cards.
Yes.
He has that box which I picked up pretty much for like $10. And then I paid the shipping and it came up here. Shipping's expensive though. Yeah, that one.
Oh,
yeah.
No. See, I have this full of cards, which you don't see. And this is, that's hefty when you start.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. I have mine in my, it's full of, I have all the cards. So I bought all the cards. So because I like to be free of the dice, but have that chance. So I'm just picking cards and reading off of them, and it gives it's so awesome. It gives you such great prompts.
Well, the translation deck, which I need to go look into, that's something like the Strange deck. I mean, these are all in the Strange.
Yeah,
I got the bestiary stuff too. Well, some of them they sold out, and I just didn't buy them because.
Well, did you buy the box set Strange?
No, I bought he had them for half off during the Black Friday sale.
Okay. I picked up the box set. I ended up finding one through where was it? I think I bought one off of eBay, which was fairly reasonable, and it was and when I got it, it's pretty awesome. There's a lot of. It's nice to have the books in like you have the players. Basically, the players section, and then you have your game master section, and then you have like the monsters section. They're all separated in little separate booklets.
Yeah,
so they're really easy to manage. It's not like you have to have that hefty, tome to cart around.
Yeah, so I mean that makes it a lot easier. Again, that comes back. I think I bought most of the books for that. Then I picked up First Responders, which I need to look at. No, I mean they do a lot of good stuff, and there's a lot in there that I like for the ciphers. It's I think that it's, but I was just curious because how do I want to say this? The Invisible Sun or whatever. That seems like that's a really premium.
I'm waiting for the box once again. When he makes the black box again, I will certainly pick it up because I heard enough about it that it's very compatible with the rest of the Cypher system stuff.
Well, I saw that. What was the dark one? Which I don't know about it, but I know that they use in the Cypher system for the Old Gods of Appalachia. I don't know if you picked that one up.
No.
That's a podcast apparently, which talks about and then they decided to use the Cypher system. The only problem that I have with really Monty Cook is that they put in a morality clause if you're going to be doing this stuff, if you're going to be generating things. Why are you guys putting up morality clauses? Just simply because a morality clause means if you do too well, they can just revoke it for any reason. That's the problem I have with that stuff.
There's a part of me. I look at some of these like warnings or morality clauses. It reminds me of I'm trying to find the right way to put this. Grabbing grabbing your deodorant out of your cabinets, right, and reading it back. Do not apply this to the eyes. What would make you think I would do something like applying this to my eyes? Now you get to D&D morality. I'm like, okay, I get it, but once again, what do you think?
Well, but there was a book in like 3.5. It was called Vile Deeds or something. And even Monty Cook did one of like a book of erotic, whatever. It was something like that. Where it actually I mean, why are you doing a morality clause? You have what is it? The horror one that they have, the Stay Alive.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
they have the Stay Alive. They have the one that was dealing with the romance and some other stuff. How to deal with sex and things in there. I said, well, then why do you need a morality clause? Just simply say all you can do is say it's compatible but not supported by Monty Cook or whatever games. That's all you need to do. That's what they should do. Is they should just say, just put a little disclaimer that says it's compatible but not supported by, and that would be easy enough. Or say that it's compatible but you're independent. That's all that I think they need to do. But this whole morality clause, that's a minefield that if they don't like you, or whatever the mob comes for you, you have to destroy everything. I said, oh no, that's the problem that I have with it.
I think it's a catch 22. I think to a certain degree, the DM or the creators need to cover their ass, and at the same time, the actual people who own the business has to cover their ass.
Well, by covering your ass is just simply say that you're not affiliated. All you have to do is say, not affiliated.
I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. But I don't like the whole. Why they're putting these morality clauses in there. Now I understand why someplace like Free League or Modifius may do that because they're overseas and they may have there's legal things. But usually they put in a reasonable person would deem, which means that if it goes to a jury, that's what they're referring to. But
a reasonable person.
Well, that's
please point one of those out. I love to see a reasonable person, especially a hobbyist.
Well, that's the definition of sexual harassment thing. Would a reasonable person view this as sexual harassment? Not because there's some Looney Tunes out there on whatever it is.
Yeah, there are some creepy people and stuff like that. You meet them everywhere, but they're not just in the hobby. They're like generally walking down the street and minding their own.
I get that, but I'm not playing. I'm not trying to play devil's advocate, but. When did you get into the sport, Rick? Not sport. When did you get into the hobby? I'll start with you, Rick. When did you get in the hobby?
78. I picked up Gamma World, and I thought Gamma World was a Avalon Hill style game because I was used to playing Avalon Hill games, the war games and stuff like that. And when I opened up that like when you look on the back of the box, you see like a hex map of the United States, and you see what looked to be like maybe chits tokens, but those were actually the things that strips you would cut and turn them into dice. So it didn't actually include dice. It had the chits that you would cut up and put in bags. So you would roll your D20 by pulling chits all the time, right? But when I picked that up, I was reading it going, what the hell is this? Because I did not understand what a role-playing game was until my buddy who had an older brother that actually went to a couple of conventions in Vancouver. He's like, oh, bring him over. We'll show him what Dungeons and Dragons is all about. And so then I went over, and that was it. Yeah.
So how old were you,
that 78 I was like 14.
Okay. The reason I was asking is I remember getting with D&D when I was 80, 81, 82, somewhere around there. I mean, I was 8 years old, but that's somewhere in that time frame. My friend bought the basic set, which was, it was old enough that it had the dice, but it was still, like the really early version. So, I mean, I looked at that and was like, oh, okay. And then I remember picking up Star Frontiers, because I liked sci-fi more than I did fantasy. That was my real love for things. And all I ever saw was Dragon Magazine, and it was like, what's this Traveler thing? What's this Roll Master thing? You never saw those. I never saw. I didn't see those in the. Of course, that's one thing I do like about Monty Cook. These feel like premium books. They look pretty. They've got good layout. They've got art all over the place. I mean, even just like little, those little, they're not very big, but just enough to give you an idea that gets you a feeling. I like the tables that are somewhat colored. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there that I think that they do a very good job for. And I said, okay, and that's the problem that I didn't like about Traveler. Traveler to me was it's all game and no inspiration setting. No, I mean, art to me is what goes like Cult. Cult will never be my game, and I can tell it just by the art. And I said, okay, it's not my thing, but I'm not. Some people like it, but I know what I like and what I don't, and I think that it sets the tone, and that's the problem I'm starting it with 5e. Is they're starting to go more towards that anime style, whereas I wanted more of the photorealistic style of like Elmore and stuff like that. If I wanted to go, I wanted to say, oh, okay, just a different style of artwork, but.
And I get that. I guess my thing was, the question I asked was, both of you guys, by the sounds of it, grew up in the hobby. You both, seen the ups and downs of it. Sure. I didn't get into it until I was much older. I was in my 20s by the time I got into it. And if I went to the local game shop, the people I'd find in there were just, some of them were cool. And a lot of them were like, you need a bath. You need to know how to use a razor. And as I have a beard, I do, but I don't look like Gandalf. But, it's just the weirdness from the outside looking in was thick.
I'm going to put it this way. It depended on where I went. I mean, when I was young, we all looked kind of the same. None of us could grow like big beards or anything like that. And, you're in high school. You don't know what the hell you're doing.
You're all geeky kids, They're all geeky kids, no matter, even when you're older and you look back. Yeah, even the cool guys were still geeky kids, They were all awkward and everything, right?
Well, I mean, the big thing that I look at it is that most people I knew went off into the military. The military plays a huge. If you ever they play D&D all the time. But the problem that I had in some cases was. Again, it's not too bad. Some of it is, and I think we've all gone through this phase. We are the power gamers. We do this. We cheat. We try getting ahead. Oh, the stats matter. You just keep rolling and rolling. And now at my age, I'm going, okay, how easy is it for me to learn the rules? Can I just run it without trying to memorize everything? And don't get me wrong. I say this and then I'll buy like $20 as they get more and more into it. But there are always options. I don't have to use them. So, no, I understand where you're coming from, Connell. I do. I think part of it just comes down to is, how do I want to put that? The kids who grew up reading comics and reading science fiction and stuff, those are kids that gravitate over towards this. And the kids who tend to like that tend to be the geekier kids or go into math and science a lot.
I was a jock. I didn't mean to be a jock. I was just a jock. I was a jock. I was a geek trapped in a jock's body, as I'd normally tell people, because I did read comic books. I read a lot, and this stuff always interests me, but I didn't have time to sit down and play D&D when I had to go run X many miles, a day, or I had to swim X miles of laps, because I was always in some sport or the other. Now, after my knees went out and I broke my hand, my life has slowed down, and when I started going more and more to them, there's a lot of weirdos, and I don't mean that as a bad thing, but there's a lot of weirdos out there. I would not feel comfortable putting the 15-year-old version of me into that situation.
Well, I have to look at the kids I was playing with at my. Again, we tried playing with our own age group. Don't get me wrong, but here's what gets me about it is when I see someone that's 60 years old who hasn't learned the basic social aspects among other people. Like my friend, he was playing with, and I said, okay, if they're young, okay, fine, you're in your early 20s here. Well, you need to learn and grow up a bit. But when you're 60 years old and you think it's okay to PvP and you get mad because your character did something that they're not supposed to do in game, which they're told, the other character played in character saying, hey, you're not supposed to do that. And then you get mad and you try telling his wife, who was playing one character, who said they weren't allowed to use enchantments or mind control. And that's what he did. And he stole some stuff. And she's like, I'm siding with the people I'm with because that's part of the group I'm with. And he got mad and he said, your wife, blah, blah, blah. He was trying to like break them up. And it's like, you're 60 years old. Get over it. I mean, you do find those people, but those people tend not to have a group very quickly.
Yeah.
I also just think it's whatever circle. I mean, not even what circle, just the area you live in. I mean, bigger cities, you get more variety. I can't use wordage. Different type of people. Where in small towns, you get small town people.
Yeah, I mean, you end up weeding out who the real weirdos are because they don't end up playing with anybody anyways because everybody knows they're weird and they're like,
Right.
They just don't attend anymore, right?
And weird, there's good weird and bad weird.
Yeah.
There's the weird where the guy's just interesting, but he's out there. You're like, oh, okay. And then there's the weird where it's like
creepy weird.
Yeah, they're off socially. It's like, okay. And sometimes, especially young kids, okay, you need to learn, but I haven't found too many people like that. There've been a few, but if you find the psychopath's going to be a psychopath no matter where they are. Maybe they'll become a lawyer, and you just avoid them anyway. What was it? I think there was like a huge number of psychopaths among lawyers and doctors, and there's another one too. You're like, what?
It doesn't surprise me. I mean, I'm not trying to bash anybody, but at the same time, I'm looking at this from very much an outsider looking into where you guys have been, in the hobby for decades, where I've only been in for maybe 20 years at most.
Yeah, but you know what? 20 years is a long time, Connor. You're not a newbie.
I know. Trust me, I realize.
Well, no, I mean, the other part that comes into it is, I said, I've tried watching Rick, you and Shauner do your stuff. I've tried watching other people. I can almost watch no live plays from anybody. There's been a couple if I'm trying to learn the system. Like I enjoyed watching the Alien live plays that they were doing.
Right.
Those were about the only ones I can really watch. The rest of them, even when it's a game system I love, it's like. But what's funny is I can't watch it without being a participant. But when I'm a participant, you get in there and all this other stuff goes away and you're like, oh, I really enjoy this, which is weird. And I think part of it is the same reason that it's sometimes hard for me to, to me, it's like playing a video game, watching a movie. In the video game, I feel interactive. And the same thing is, it's that interaction with people that matters. And if you're just a passive observer, you're not getting that. And that's where
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. It's like, with Bruce, God, I love Bruce. But half the reasons why, even before I joined, I just watched a show just to see who said what. Agree with it or not, I mean, leaving politics aside, I don't always agree with Bruce. I don't always agree with Chris. I don't always agree with Shadow. But when you have something as raw as Bruce's game is, sometimes it's just fun to watch. Would I rather be gaming? Hell yeah. I'd rather roll some dice, make some characters. But when you get, it's like, okay, perfect example. The Roll20, Critical Roll20. I started watching it just out of dumb curiosity. It's very popular. And I've always been under the information that was scripted. I'm like, I wonder what script play looks like. Is it very, and it's not scripted. To a degree, it might be. It's like, this is a direction we're going, but how we get there is up to you guys.
I'm going to say this much, and this is what I noticed, is it felt very organic and real with actual voice actors, which really made it at the first season. The very beginning of the first season was when they were only like 5,000 or 10,000 subscribers, not the millions that they have now. when I was first watching it, and they're like, "Hey, we're trying to get 5,000 people, first person, 5,000 subscribers." That felt very organic, but in the later seasons, it just felt too produced, rather than just being off the cuff, and they were flowing with it. I said, "Well, that's when I sort of went off, and
Right.
and I think that's part of it is I kind of like that rawness in there, but I've seen how do I want to do this? Too many people want to be Critical Role instead of just trying to play a great game. And I was watching when I was trying to learn Alien, and I was watching Chariot of the Gods. That was just fun watching people, and sometimes there's like a married couple that would backstab each other, which is always fun. And what I thought was funny is they were laughing so much, even though it's a horror game, they know they're going to die. They're laughing because how close are they surviving, or who gets chomped or eaten or gets shut.
Oh, yeah.
And that
There's a lot of good games that have those board game aspects,
Yeah.
which are cool, and like I like them too. I like a lot of the board gamey kind of stuff as well. Um, but what I find, and the reason why I play the way I play, and I kind of stopped using the maps and the tokens and stuff like that,
Sure.
because I was finding that was getting in the way. I was using too much time to go ahead and arrange all this stuff and get maps done and all this stuff. I felt a heck of a lot more free when I started just doing it theater of the mind, and having the players, with the general rules, stay in character, ask questions as your character using devices or whatever it is or asking the NPC. It made everybody kind of go into that character mode, and they were like, you watch my streams, live streams, and they're all there. They're not looking at a phone or anything, or running out and doing something else while somebody else is having their turn. But that was the reason why I went that way, was because it allowed me to have the players go wherever they want without me having to show a map or move icons, and it made it more organically like flow. So that's
mean,
the reason why I went with that.
Yeah, and I'm not going to fault anybody that goes that direction. I just know me in the way I game. I need the physical representation of what's going on. I have a bad case of ADD, and I've said this to Omen now. While we're talking, I'm not ignoring you. I'm listening to everything you guys have to say, but my hands got to be doing something.
well,
So
sometimes you can see me get up and go grab a book and come
Oh,
back.
yeah, no, I got that case of
I mean,
ADD.
it's not that, and I still have these books, and sometimes I flip through them while you're talking. I mean,
Now,
but
now-
the part of the other thing is, and this is, and I don't know how Rick feels about this. It's not that I'm against having representations. I just don't want it to be exact placement and squares and stuff like that. Like for me, this sounds funny. It reminds me of the old chessboards where you might have a rook and it doesn't look anything like a little pawn or anything else. It's just, to me, that's fine. I don't know how you were, Rick, but I remember using like nickels, dimes, quarters, and pennies, and we weren't trying to find the exact distance. It's like, are you touching? Yes, you can go melee. If you're far away, okay, you do this. I mean, it's relative positioning rather than exact positioning, which is what I think some of them are doing.
I was fortunate to have a game master, Ted, who was basically, he was all theater of the mind.
Uh-huh.
So when I joined his games, and the rest of my old crew from school, where we would have maybe a few miniatures or have an eraser representing something on the desk, that sort of thing. We joined up with Ted, and Ted was full on theater of the mind. He didn't have any books on him, like around. He didn't even have a screen. He just had one piece of paper, basically, that he kind of had a few notes and stuff like that. I was always wondering, how does he do this? How does he, keep all this together? And he never, he never asked for rules for initiative or anything like that, unless it was something that definitely was head to head, something was happening, a duel, and roll initiative, of course.
Yeah.
But everything else was very organic and stuff. And that caught me onto the idea of the mechanics had to be something like with Traveller or Cypher, where I could leave my books on the shelf and I could just sit here and have my notebook with a few notes, These are just my. This is my notes for one full session right here, and that's all I need because the mechanics are so easy to use. And I don't need a graph or a chart in front of me. I just tell them roll under, engineering, roll under electronics, roll under your diplomat or whatever it is. Like nice short sentences to, they roll, boom, and we explain what happened. Another thing that was interesting that I did just kind of call back, rediscovered again was my last game where Josh was fighting in a gladiatorial combat on this planet with this other guy, and they were going head to head. I did simultaneous rolling. We both saw the die roll results, and then I would go ahead and lay out what is happening. And they were thrashing each other up against the cages, and if they weren't like causing each other like actual harm. But then when somebody got the upper hand, somebody got a hit, so there was damage rolled, and it was really, really cool because it was all happening at once, and there wasn't any like, okay, you rolled, then I rolled, and no, we were like, boom, we knew what was happening just by the die roll results. When you got stuff like that happening, it just makes your game just go. Well, it's fun.
The part of the problem I have with different games, and I'm not against all of them, it just depends on whether I want to feel more like a war game or not, is the simulationist games where they go down and you do a lot of it. And I like some where there's a bit more variability. So again, I've liked the Mutineer Zero engine. It's easy for me to understand. Add what's your skill plus your stat. Okay, that's how many dice you roll. Same thing with Conan. Roll this, roll under. Okay, you need so much. And I don't mind having a DM screen, but man, even more than a DM screen and basically the monsters. And this is a great thing about PDF is I can just print off monsters now instead of having to open and flip back and forth. And you're just like, okay, let me put it out. It's like, all right.
Well, that's for the reason why I liked D&D Beyond. I could just pull up what I needed before that. If I need a stone giant or whatever I needed, it would have its tableau window to the side. You guys are doing this, and all of a sudden, a door busts open, and a 8 foot tall man that walks in. He looks like he's made out of pure marble. Give me a check to know what he is, and just and all I have to do is click on the little thing and have all his stats ready.
One of the things I like is I wish more monster manuals did more. And this is the problem I'm going to say with D&D, not so much for the others. This is one of the things I liked about the Iron Kingdoms RPG, the where they basically did a 2d6 and then 3d6 or 4d6 or 5d6, depending on how you roll. But it was the d6 system that they were using for that. Was you would roll for your lore, and it would tell you something about the monsters. And in certain cases, some of it was wrong until you get to the really, really high levels. So it'd say if you roll a 15 or above, you find this out. At 20, you find this. At 24, you find this. And at 30, you find this. And you find out the stuff at 30 contradicts the stuff that's at 15 or 18. And I said, that is kind of cool. And I wish that they would do some of that stuff where, now, of course, not all. I think sometimes it's better because I don't know how it was, Rick, when you were, but at least in my game groups, everyone bought every book, it seemed. All the hardback books. And
we had different people in our kind of conglomeration of possibly 15 to 20 people in total, but there would usually be about 8 of us that usually gamed consistently together, and then others would kind of dwindle off, or somebody would be working, so other people would pop in, and it was a very open kind of gaming kind of thing. We played first edition and second edition AD&D at that time, and everybody had books. Everybody was starting to bring in those new second edition books.
Oh yeah, God,
somebody would have the fighter's handbook, hand it over to Ted, say, "Can we use this? Can we use the thing?" And he would look it over. He goes, "Yeah, sure, okay, we'll use this." And it was interesting that way.
Well, no, what I meant is that if you go by Gary Gygax, where you just want the players to look at the player's handbook and nothing else, and in some ways, The problem is as a kid, even nowadays, I want to know everything. So
Yeah.
books. And in many ways, I think you're spoiling it for yourself because the monsters are not surprising. And I don't know about the players nowadays. It seems like the players nowadays don't know as much about the monsters as they did when I was young, where all of our friends knew like every monster.
Yeah, I've
Right,
noticed
right.
that.
So, but you still get the people out there that really gravitate towards that. The token. The token says it's a giant. And you're like, oh, I know all about giants and stuff like that, right? Or it shows you a carrion crawler, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I already know everything. But that's why whenever I play a game, I don't. That's why I don't use the tokens and stuff like that. I describe the creature. It's some sort of elongated snake-like thing. It's got these warbling tentacles on the front, and I'm letting the player's imagination come up with a picture of what it is. I give you just a brief description like that, and they're like, "Oh my god, what is this thing?" Their own minds are working against them, causing this kind of cosmic horror in front of them, which I cannot describe for them to make it horrible. Their own brains are doing that for them, which is cool. And then I don't have to worry about them having knowledge about the creature until it hits, and then they're like, "Oh, my arm, I can't move it." Right? Then they're like, "Oh, this must be a carrion crawler or whatever it is."
Well, no, I meant as a player, though. In some cases, you're better off being quote ignorant.
Yeah,
especially starting off because it's a lot more fun to discover things.
Everybody looks at the books, though. Yeah, you're gonna get a lot.
Well, I mean, that's sometimes the great thing about. That's one of the reasons I like the Conan stuff with the Creature of the Hyborian Age, because it gives you templates. So players don't really know what they're dealing with at the time. It's like you're fighting a giant. Like, oh, okay, well, you hit him, but you don't. It does this. Like, oh, why is this giant? What I want to say because I'm thinking Pleistocene animals, but why does this giant moose talk to me? You can put the templates down there. Well, it actually gives it. It says this, and it's like, oh, okay. So now you're thinking of this, or you get the giant owl, the Strix and stuff like. Oh, wow. But I meant the problem that I had when I was younger was because D&D was like the only game in town for the most part. Everyone memorized Beamfolio, Monster Manual 2, and the Monster Manual. Oh, I know what this is. Oh, I know what that is, and you're like, there are 1,000 monsters, and yet somehow everyone knows how to quote like everything off, and they'll be off by like just a little bit.
I do run in. I do run into that still every so often, and I'm like, cool. You know exactly what this is. So you know what the AC is. You know what the hit points are. I rolled a 15. I hit. No, you didn't.
Well,
the stat says the AC is 15 and has 100 and something. Like, yeah, the book says that, but this is my world. Therefore, I can make them a little bit more beefier if I want.
Well, I mean, you can do that, but in some ways, that's one of the reasons I like having the stuff from Cypher. It's like, oh, what's the threat level? Well, once they know it's a threat level 6, they know what they need to hit with it. They know what they need to dodge on it. Now, there may be other special abilities it has, which they're not familiar with. But I also think that players in many cases don't try memorizing the monsters like I did as a kid. Because there's no real... It doesn't matter that much. Yeah, it's like, okay, does it have 30 hit points? If it's a... What is it? If it's a... if it's a level 6, does it have 18 or 30? Well, it can have either one. And you're just like, well, let's see what hits, for its health. And, the damage is pretty similar. I mean, there's a lot I think that's really good about Cypher. The system just didn't click with me, but that's more on me than saying there's anything bad about the system.
I'm still getting used to the system. I'm kind of because what I find a little awkward about the system is the players do everything. They do the defense roll and the attack roll, and for me, you're getting lost sometimes. You're going, was that the defense roll or was that the attack roll? Which one is it? Because they're doing all the rolls and you're not doing a roll for the monster. It's like they're doing both the rolls. So I have to have something set up here where I have a card that says defense attack and flip it over as things are progressing in the combats or whatever interactions going on. So
even here.
Well, I mean, for like me, I don't have that problem because the dragon attacks you. They know that they have to roll the defense. and then it's the one
Yeah.
with the dragon. I mean, as long as they're specifying what's going on,
Yeah.
So to me, it's not as hard, but I think that there were a few things that, which you tell me if you've had this experience, because when I was playing, and I played last year, and I played for probably about 6 or 8 sessions and different things until it finally came apart. Played with different people, a lot of one shots. What was I trying? The GM intrusions. Have you ever seen a player refuse one?
Actually, once
Well-
they had points to refuse it, but usually they go for it.
Exactly. And that's very interesting because it's like, well, you get extra experience points if you want to let something negative happen to you. And what I thought was interesting was the players like, yeah, give it to me. Whereas everybody in D&D is like, no, that's against the rules. You can't do that. It's funny on how the rules get the buy-in from the players. And yeah. You know what though?
Cocaine owlbear.
Yeah.
God.
Well, no. He saw the thing for Cocaine Bear on.
Yeah.
And I went, that's awesome, but that's the same thing that there's a few things I question about predation, which I wish they would do. Is I wish that the dinosaurs would kind of level up with you. They really don't get any like stronger or anything. They still have like whatever the health is. You're going, that just means they can get sneezed on. But I like
it doesn't take much to, like, as the game master, sure, level them up a little bit or whatever. Give them special things, that they you're the game master. You can do whatever you want. I think a lot of game masters out there are wanting to keep in the confines of the written rules too much.
yes.
And that's stagnating their the creativity that they could have along with it, the home brewing that they add to it. And to me, home brewing, adding your own kind of thing into it, just makes your world more interesting. And if your players are cool with it.
Well, here's the thing interesting was sometimes it's easier to change systems to get players to do what you want than it is to use whatever system, because what I'm going to say is that sunk cost. I've put so much effort in this, I don't want to learn a new system, which is the big problem I found in certain cases. And then the other part was, but I'm familiar with this. I know everything. I feel very uncomfortable if we're going to play D&D. Sometimes it's easier to say, we're going to play something different than D&D, just because then they feel like they can let go of all of that stuff. But you have to have the player buy-in for a lot of it. And I think sometimes for the dungeon masters, they've had a lot more problems with that aspect, is that the players don't want to play in their world. They want to play in whatever's the raw. How do I want to put this?
There's a new module out, and it's called blah blah blah. Everybody in the game shop and in the gaming community has been talking about it. But I don't want to run Curse of Strahd. But we don't want to run that. What you want to run? We want blah blah blah. That's what you're getting. Is that what you're?
Well, what I'm saying in this case is how do I want to put it? Because I've seen people do it. Instead of playing a character, they think that it's them against the dungeon master. They believe that the rules help protect them. And I'm saying this from someone that I used to do this. The rules are there to protect me from the dungeon master. And so they know all the rules instead of realizing the rules are there to facilitate randomness is what I want to say. I would say random, but unknown situations. That's why you have the rules or certain ways that, how do I want to say it? It's like gravity. There are certain rules that are in there that how they work all the time. So you can make into certain assumptions. But I think that's part of the problem that I have with my friend is, guys, you might actually like to do something different, but it makes it hard. That's one of the reasons why I said with Cypher, what he put in with the dragon. You roll and then the GM can do it on his turn. Not the one with the GM. He says, you know what? You hit with that natural 20. I'm going to do a GM intrusion. And the player's like, yeah, I want that extra XP. And he goes, okay. You hit it with the spear. The spear gets lodged between its scales as it takes off, and you lose the grip of your spear. And it takes off. And the players are going, well, I got screwed but that sounds pretty awesome, as they go up in there.
Right.
It gives them, because it allows it gives explicit permission for the GM to do that.
Mhm.
It encourages the players to accept it. And in many cases, since it benefits the players to do it, I mean, it hurts them at the moment, but benefits them long term. Most of them are willing to say, yeah, give me those GM intrusions. Those are so cool. And even when they don't work out the way you expect, they still, yeah, give me that GM intrusion.
Yeah.
It's funny.
I mean, they could always go after that monster that has a spear stuck in it, and chase it down. It gives them an incentive to, carry on and do this. It gives them a goal, as well.
Or no, so they have to fight with hands. So they're doing 2
Yeah.
points instead of 6. And they're like, oh, okay, I'll do that. And yeah, it's interesting to see sometimes how rules give explicit permission to allow GMs to do cool things that other systems, and it's not, everyone says, oh, what? Yeah, but by having it, this is one of the problems I have with 5e. There's a lot of optional rules, but I wish they had left a lot of stuff explicitly in there or put in the player's handbook to encourage the DM to explore or to do different things and to allow the players to say, okay, trust your dungeon master. And I understand new dungeon masters have this problem, but trust your dungeon master do what's right for you and the game. And if they don't do it, then leave the game. But you'll find probably a more enjoyable experience if you let them do some of those weird things that are out there. Otherwise, as I was hearing them talk about with Pathfinder, there's always the optimal attack that does the maximum damage, or it has the most potential for damage for this, and they do that every turn, and it makes combat pretty boring.
That's true. There is that one, but at the same time, going back using, like I said, the dice, you might have all the stats where you need to be, but if you roll a nat 1 or anything below the target number, you're still boned.
Yeah, no. But in Cypher, the nat 1 means that there's something cool that the DM will do to you. And I don't
we had that situation where we were rolling continual nat 1s in my last Godforsaken episode. So they were fighting this giant spider, and as they were engaging with it, they kept on. There was a couple of ones that were rolled. So the first one brought in some more spiderlings. Then there was something else that happened. I think then it brought in like a tremor or something like that. And so there's different things that you can bring in instead of just having the sword break or whatever it is that nat 1 would count for. So you can do interesting things, bring in more creatures, bring in more interesting atmospheric effects, have the flames it hit those webs, and suddenly there's a firestorm of heat going on here, and everybody's like, run away, and stuff like that. It just makes things more interesting, and that's the thing is.
Or your leg gets trapped in spider webs. Now you're stuck, and now it makes it easier for them to hit. For sure. It's even if mechanically it's very similar. It's players don't feel like, oh, you're just working against me. It's like, well, guys, you rolled all the dice.
Exactly.
But the same token is
it does take a special kind of GM to be able to do that. Not every GM has that brain that can come up with the clever ideas as things are happening. Some game masters will forget that maybe the webs are flammable or stuff like that, or they're still underground. There could be tremors. There could be a chasm that opens up and stuff like that. And they don't think in that kind of view. They're really stuck in that kind of like simple things, because everybody's different. There's people with vivid imaginations. There's people with really like they can't imagine. They have to have the physical things in front of them to see, to conceptualize that whole situation. But everybody's different. So game masters out there, some of them can do that kind of thing. So some may take Cypher and go, I can't do this. There's no way I'm going to be able to think up ideas spur on the moment.
But those GM intrusion cards that they have
that helps. Yeah.
And like we're example, since we're rolling to dodge, you roll a 1. Well, 1 means that there's a GM intrusion. So he says, okay, you hit and take so much damage, but guess what? Because he rams you, you're pushed off and your leg gets caught up in some webs, and now you're hanging upside down off the cliff. And okay, now it doesn't have to kill you, but you're now really screwed because now you have to try working your way out of that. But if you do that in D&D, well, that's not true because that shouldn't be any different than this. And that's the problem I find with the players.
Yeah.
It really comes down to the players more. I mean, we can talk about the DM, but the players, by buying off on stuff, make a huge difference in allowing the DM to be very creative. And I think that's the real advantage of the Cypher. And actually, similar to Conan, the ones that allow the complications, even if sometimes, like for Conan, you can succeed and still get a complication, which I think is kind of cool. But you have to be more original than I know Shadow didn't like it because he says, I lost my bows and arrows. I said, yeah, that shouldn't necessarily happen for a complication. I would do something else. Okay, you shoot, you hit, but unfortunately you slip on the mud and now you've fallen into the river. Okay, now you're being swept along the river. Okay, it's not lethal or anything, but now at this point now you're leaving the battle kind of, and now you have to try getting back to shore. And there's a lot of, I like how do I want to say, the pulp action aspect of games. And I think that's where that helps from that. But what a great thing about the OGL was now it's having players switch to different systems and try new things. And maybe they'll go right back to 5e after a bit, but
the strange thing is when that was happening, my the video that blew up on my channel was Cypher.
Oh yeah,
people were must be looking up Cypher, like the Cypher Godforsaken was what people were looking for because it's another fantasy kind of genre. And suddenly my video ended up like getting a whole bunch of hits, and it was like, wow, okay, this is totally superseding my my BattleTech videos, which were pretty had a lot of hits. And one of the best ones was the solo Zoser, the start, where I was going to start doing a solo traveler game using the Zoser rules.
Okay,
that was my highest view video, but as soon as that happened, Godforsaken was like cranked right up there. So, which was cool because that's good. People are looking for new things to try and play and needing examples of, and that's where if all us game masters playing different games, it should be bringing up these games and showing examples of how to play them and stuff like that. So.
Well, there's certain games that I do like for mechanics. Like I says, I like the Alien one because it's very simple. I like the fact that every success that you get above allows you to do something interesting with it. I like I says, I like the Mutant Year Zero Alien. I like the stress mechanic when all of a sudden you panic.
So in the background, in behind my shoulder here, is a bunch of alien stuff. I'm actually going to be painting them on my break here. So I have
cool.
a little bit of a break coming up starting next Sunday and whole week off, and I'm going to be painting with GM Fritz as well. So we're going to arrange a few and GM Fritz and me are going to be doing some videos together.
Well, like I said, I like the ones that allow the cinematic aspect, the style of playing, and I don't mind. I know for Shauna, the one thing I don't like is having to go. Though sometimes you have to is like, what do you do? And maybe I'm different because the DM will be saying something, and I'll cut him off and say, I do this. He's like, what? And he says, wait, I'm not done. That's fine. I'm just letting you know that I interrupted you, so it doesn't come down to like, all right, roll for combat. Like, nope, I'm doing this immediately. But I also don't try, how do I want to put this? I don't try killing off the NPC before he has a chance to say stuff. I think that's kind of a dick move because everyone wants to hear the monologue of your villain sometimes, or at least the DM. Let the DM have some fun. Stop ruining the DM's fun too. I mean, let him go off and be the, let him be the Blofeld or whoever where he says, where he gets to talk to James Bond and let him have his little soliloquy and his little monologue, and then you can go into your fight. Okay, just Don't be a dick to your DM. I don't know why that's so hard to everybody.
Are you expecting me to? Are you expecting me to talk? No, Bond. I'm expecting you to die.
Well, you know,
Game Master has to make them quick and short, kind of little things.
Well,
That's what I find is I've been trying to hold back from going on to full on, pages of some sort of triad on what's happening. I just try to keep it as short as possible in order to keep that, have the players still more involved.
To me, about a paragraph, which a million, my paragraphs are not like this long. They're about 3 or 4 sentences, but 3 or 4 sentences takes about a minute. And I remember listening to it. Well, I just go up and go to the bathroom. And I went, you know what? If you're going to be so disrespectful, now, the DM, let the DM have his moment to shine, okay? He's let your characters have a shine. Let him have his moment to shine. Let him, enjoy, have some fun there.
You said that?
Oh, L,
That guys, he's not one of my favorite people.
L has his moments, but then there's other times, when L's talking, wow, we would do this. Well, no offense, L, I understand you're in hospice and you're a grumpy old man, but, so, yeah, but sometimes it's just like, but just the whole thing, if you have players that are really disrespectful, like, okay, you know what? Don't come back to my game. Just humor me. I mean, it's just like when we were talking about having a romantic partner. Sometimes you just have to let them talk. And you just sit back there, nod your head, and like,
right.
It's,
let them vent.
Yes. Let them be, Darth Vader, and let him be the Emperor for a moment as he goes through and says, "Yes, let the hate flow through you." Let him be that whole thing. It doesn't have to stop or whatever the other one is in there. Let them talk for a bit. Let you understand what's going on here. I also like flashbacks sometimes. I like not that I've done this, but where the players are going through and then suddenly there's a flashback and you see like just a little snippet. So it gives them some background of what's going on, even if they're not necessarily, so they feel like they understand their world a bit better, even if their characters wouldn't know about it. It should feel something like a movie or something like that,
With my players, I find half the time I just sit back. Quite literally, unless there's something major going on, some major RP going on, I just let them sit back and just work themselves into a frenzy. And will there be a good deal of role playing in there? Where was this the script, or was this playing where I was playing on for the party go tonight? No, not really, not at all. Actually, fuck, you just moved the campaign back another 6 months. I could feel it now. But they walk away from the party at table happy and come back the next week. And not all campaigns need to be like a freaking race. Sometimes it's just a simple walk in the park style campaign with adventure and everything else that are more memorable than we got done with this campaign in like 6 months. You said it was going to be a year. I wasn't expecting you guys to stay the course.
Well, I mean, like Rick's talking about it. So don't over script things and let the players, like I know that the Friday game we're playing with Shadow and Bo, we must sound like we're part of the Alex Jones conspiracy theory in the part of the game. I don't trust this person. I don't trust that. And Bo's sitting back laughing. He says, well, I don't trust this. And what is it? Kevin went off and said, well, I'm just going to do this. Those weren't our orders, Kevin. Just don't go off and start shooting everybody and screw everything up. It's like, be part of the team. But in the meantime, we're going, I don't trust the governor. Why can't we contact the ship? It shouldn't be that hard. Why have they sent out aid to us? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I think there's something else going on here. Let's find out what's going on before we start killing people. Just because we're badasses doesn't mean we have to go in there with our guns blazing.
You're not tinfoil yet?
Well, Bo's laughing his head off because he just really enjoys it. Said, well, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
You know what? Let me go to the bar, but we'll pretend to do this. I'll go buy drinks for everybody. Why? I said, because when people get drunk, they start talking a bunch, and you just keep the drinks flowing, and you just listen. And what's the old phrase? Whenever someone says something, you repeat the last 2 or 3 words. Oh, Yeah, we've had a hard day. A hard day? Yeah, we were working really long and blah blah blah, and then the compressor blew up. The compressor? Yeah, the compressor that operates this blah blah. Which is what you're supposed to do normally for talking. And you're like, oh, okay. All right, what did you find out? Well, we found out the compressor blew up, that there's a mutiny that's going on, the people haven't been paid in 6 months, and blah. The DM can just run with it. He doesn't even have to. It's like, well, I had this much, now I have this much. Um,
Some of these campaigns quite literally just write themselves. I mean, if you get the right group. I remember reading an article about Ron Harold, tired, when he was writing the Conan books, and he said it felt like I had Conan literally behind me, whispering his tales into my ear, and if I didn't do it, he was going to put his axe into my back.
well, there's something to be said for how do I want to put this? For like true writers, they have to write. They have to. It's the same thing with sometimes with people who paint and things like that. They have it's almost like it's a burning sensation that if they don't do it, they go nuts. And I think sometimes there's something to be said for, as much as we talk about like I hate writing. Boy, I've seen people where they just write and write and write. And they have to. They have to write, otherwise they go nuts. And maybe they are kind of nuts anyway, so they've got that. But
Yeah, who am I to question people's sanity? We all live in this world together.
but I mean, yeah, but I mean, like they get mentally ill almost.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I was being someone with smart
Yeah,
ass. I know. I have to say though, Rick, I am mildly jealous, which is a rare treat because I normally don't get jealous. But that the theme that you wrote for Shadow was really cool.
What's the thing?
The theme, he wrote like a little music intro for
Oh,
Shadow.
okay, yeah. I've got one in the cooker for OGGM as well. So that one, he said he wanted something that sounds like basket case. So I've got a basket case, kind of like the same, almost chord-ish progression going in, and then it goes into kind of like a little bit of Mozart kind of guitar thing.
Nice.
So
That's awesome.
I'm gonna have to ask him if he wants to have me going like OGGM in the end or something like that. I don't know yet.
I was listening to his interest and I'm like, yeah, I'm like, that's really cool. I gotta get on better terms with Rick. Shit.
Yeah. I don't mind doing jingles for people once in a while and stuff like that.
Oh, I get that.
So yeah, if you hit 1,000 people, I'll write you a jingle.
Yeah, well, if I hit 1,000 people, I think I'm like 67. I think it's going to be a while.
It won't take very long.
Oh my
Won't take long at all. Just have
Yeah.
to interview some really interesting people that everybody wants to come and see you
I
all the
have
time.
a friend who
over.
does Twitch, and she made like over 5,000 or whatever, a huge number really quick. And she's like, "You want to know what my secret is?" I'm like, "You're hot." She's like, "No, I gave away stuff. People love free things." I'm like, "Oh, that works too."
Yeah, but not as much as cleavage.
Yeah.
I
Being a gal it's kind of an advantage. I've never gotten into YouTube in order to make money. It's even if I hit 1,000, I'm not monetizing because that's a whole can of worms and just a headache for me.
Well, all these people who want to see me monetize, I'm going, why? I understand people want to get more, and I'm not against it. It's like great, but the problem that I have with YouTube is that it's so fickle that if you kind of plan on making any kind of money, they're suddenly taking it away from you. You're like, well, it's one thing if you start having like a Patreon or you have a lot of people make it on merchandising. That's the big thing that they go
when
for.
you're playing music. I had another channel where I was like teaching kind of chords and stuff like that, but they're really even in my unmonetized stage, they were like, "Oh, you're covering this tune, and you're getting a strike for it." And I'm like, "But it's just a bunch of chords, really. It got really bad for a bit. Said, I am never going to go ahead and monetize because this would be an absolute nightmare. Because if you're counting on that money to come in, it's it's bad.
To me, counting on money to come in at all for anything like this is like me going to the local casino or me going to the local gas station. I'm going to buy a lottery ticket. I'm going to win $25. No, you're not. You at best you might get a free one. Who the hell are you trying to kid? I mean, I'm glad that Omanal likes to hang out with me. I love the fact that you hopped in here, Rick. But I have not aggressive. I have a very interesting personality that doesn't exactly rub everybody the right way. And so getting 1,000 people that want to listen to my loud mouth, never gonna happen. But that's fine. That's fine. When they kick me off with this, I'll just go over the Rumble until I get kicked off with that.
Well, I mean, I thought it was funny, and probably Shadow's right, is if I did the whole thing about farming and stuff, I would get probably more viewers quicker, just because there's a lot more. But, some of the things that just amazed me on what people get, which I thought was funny, was Joe Rogan had the bee lady on? I can't remember. And it was so funny because all these people are going, well, the only reason she got all these people is because she's attractive. I said, no, because I've watched the videos. Unless you're really interested in bees, there's other videos if you want to watch pretty women. It's
and some of those videos are free.
Well, but no, what I meant, I don't even mean in a negative way. I mean, there's just some where the women are a lot more attractive. But
I know the free videos that Connell's talking about.
Yeah. Well,
hey, ask no questions and hear no lies. That's what I'm saying.
Well, no. But I meant is that there's something compelling about certain subjects, and people forget about that. Is what I'm trying to say. Is that's what gets me about this is, well, that's just because someone's big. That works sometimes depending on what you're trying to sell, but other points is I kind of like hearing people talk about like cooking. You know what? I don't care. I'll watch people that are fat or thin that are cooking. If it looks good and you make it somewhat entertaining, then I'm like, oh, okay, I'll watch this.
Right? Yeah, like Guga Foods when he's testing. Yeah, I always watch his stuff on how to prepare, steaks and stuff. And then he's like, we're gonna go ahead and what is it called? The dry
age?
Whatever.
Dry aging that you need a
dry aging stuff. We're gonna use peanut butter this time, and it's just like, and then he goes ahead and tries it on his friends. That's an interesting thing. That's a great gimmick, and he's bringing in a lot of people watching.
That was my food porn in Iraq, where I spent because the food was so bad that we would get that I would just sit there for hours watching these steaks being cooked. Like, oh, they look so good. That's what got me to buy the sous vide.
There's a guy on YouTube that does sous vide, and I watch, and some of the things he does, he got like a suckling pig. And I'm going to sous vide a suckling pig. I'm like,
are you sure that's in
Guga? It's not going to,
Are you sure that isn't Guga? Because Guga has Guga Foods and sous vide everything.
I think it might be the same guy. Now that I think about
it is. Then
he pulls a suckling pig out of the bag. He's like, well, it's got a temperature. It's ready to eat. I'm not 100% sure about this. Then he takes a blowtorch to it, and the skin crisp up. I'm like, I cook professionally. I would have never thought about doing that.
Here's something that I did with the sous vide years ago for Thanksgiving. I decided to make pumpkin pie in mason jars.
Okay.
And so what I did is that I put the problem is I used 8-ounce jars. I really should have used 4-ounce because 8 ounce is just too big for most people to eat. And so I put a graham cracker crust at the bottom, and then I put the pie filling inside the jar, and then I just pop it in there so it will cook to like 180 degrees. Then I took it off and I took the blowtorch so you get like a creme brulee effect on the top, and then I put whipped cream on it and say, okay, and then I would just hand out little jars to everyone to eat and a spoon, and that worked out really well. The problem was the 8-ounce jars were too big for most people, and I'm like, okay, next time I'll use a 4-ounce jar. But that I didn't have to worry about overcooking it. I didn't have to worry about it burning. I didn't have to worry about being undercooked. I'm like, okay, just set the temperature to 180 degrees. It gets up there, and I like graham cracker crust. I do not like regular pie crust, so graham cracker crust to me for everything. that's evolving with a pie.
I'm going to have to go buy one. I mean, they're not that expensive.
They're about 150 $100 to $150. Then you have to get
Bags.
the container. The bags are cheap.
Yeah.
What I do is all you have to do is get the the vacuum seal bags.
Yeah.
As long as you get a vacuum seal bag, I buy them by like 200 at a pop, and then you get the vacuum seal. Like, oh, okay. Then the container itself, and the big thing is the emergent circulator. But
Yeah.
once you put the sous vide in, there's like pop it in. What I love is I don't have to, like, I can go play a video game or something, come back in half an hour, and like, oh man, I forgot about it for 20 minutes. Oh, it's not overcooked.
That's just, I mean, it works, and I get the concept of it. I really do. It's just that's just so foreign to me. I don't know.
Well, Connell, I mean, my steaks, you've seen how I have my ribeyes,
Oh yeah.
and they're vacuum sealed in there, and then it's like, okay, and then of course you laugh at it, but when I'm ready to actually cook them, as I just cut them open, I may dry them off, and then I put them in, I get some beef tallow, and I put that in my pan, which is why you hear the smoke alarm go off, and then I just get a nice crust on the outside, and boom, it's good to go.
That's not the timer to let you to know when your food's done.
Well, you say that, but my mother used to have something that says, dinner will be ready when the smoke alarm goes off.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen variations of those too.
And it is different, but I mean, if I had a hood that would actually suck smoke out, it'd be a bit different, but I don't.
Yeah.
So,
No, I say that. I mean, to be fair, I say that to anybody that cooks. I'm like, I'm over there and their fire alarm goes off. I'm like, smoke alarm goes off. I'm like, that's not an alarm system.
But it's great. But that's the thing I love about that is, I throw in the sous vide and I forget for about 2 or 3 hours, and I come back. I'm like, all right, just cut the top. I mean, it's not something that you make up instantly, but I'm like, oh, that's fine. I did that with my fajitas earlier today. So I just threw them in there. Now, of course, if you can cook that, but then you might put it in the broiler just to get the nice, browning on the outside. But
yeah,
it's awfully nice. I don't have to worry about the inside. Is it cooked perfectly? Nope, don't care. I just want to, brown on the outside a bit. And
I mean, I love Shadow. Don't get me wrong, but at least that's better than Shadow. Shadow's argument: if it takes longer to cook than it does in the microwave, I'm not going to eat it in a mic.
Oh, well, here's the problem I had with the microwave. Is the microwave would take me 3 to 5 minutes, which means I'm kind of stuck.
Yeah.
Waiting for the microwave to be done. But there are times that if I can throw something in the refrigerator, or I'm sorry, in the oven for half an hour, I can go do something for 30 minutes. Like I can go watch a TV show for 30 minutes, and I'll come back and say, "Oh, it's done." Or an hour.
I've stopped using the microwave. We are using the air fryer now for a lot.
I got one of those. A buddy got me one of those for my birthday a couple years ago, and I just look at him like, what do I do with you?
It's great, man. Look up some recipes and try different things. Try doing a pork chop, inside the air fryer first. Just something simple. Try it out. Takes you maybe 20 minutes. Set it at a certain temperature, and for like 20 minutes, and you can always press the pause button and look inside, see how it's doing. It gets all nice and crispy and everything, and try different things. Just try different spices. I did the pork chops with the onion soup mixed all over it, and stuck them in there. Just do like maybe 2 at a time, and see how the perfect temperature and the perfect time. You'll learn as you go along, and you can always check it as you're going through it. And it's fast, and you end up with great tasting food, no grease. It all runs down to the very bottom, and you got excellent. You can do some really excellent recipes. So you just check out things.
I need to learn how to use it. I really do. It's just I am a traditionalist. I like my stovetop. I'll grill. I don't have a problem with grilling. I want fire, damn it. And
but Rick, where am I supposed to drink my butter and get all my fat from?
You just take the bottom, take your product out, pull out the little tray, and go ahead.
well,
Suck it back.
we're
Suck
back
it
over
back.
the pork chop. Well, I mean,
I
you
was
laughed
a
at that,
gosh.
but I was telling Connell, so I to get that nice crust on the outside of my steak, I use the beef tallow, and then once I've done that, I just pour that over the steak, and then I get the bone marrow butter and I put that on there, and I need to get some more blue cheese because I like the blue cheese on the blue cheese crumbles on top, and boy, you mix that with the bone marrow butter with the steak. Oh, that's so good. And I'm just and what's funny was, I think I had my blood checked last year. And they're like, your cholesterol's super low and your triglycerides we think your triglycerides are too low. We're gonna check them again. I said, okay. So I checked them again and they went, all right. And I looked at the triglycerides and it says, most people have low triglycerides have a low fat diet. And I went, I've been guzzling butter for like the last 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, everybody's different, so you're gonna have, and it also depends on your age too.
Yeah.
I have like a thyroid condition because
Sure.
I used to be like 235 pounds. I used to be a big dude, like buff and everything.
Yeah.
But as soon as thyroid hit, I dwindled down to like 140 pounds.
Yeah.
And I was a
wow.
walking skeleton for a while until I had the proper doctor. He was like, "Oh, we need this done, we need that done." And when you're getting older, definitely go in and get listen to your doctor, get your blood tests and stuff. Otherwise, things happen and you're messed up.
Well, see, I thought funny is my father had a thyroid issue and all his hair fell out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me rephrase that.
That happened to me. It thinned out quite a bit. I used to have super thick hair. It was long, thick hair. It's like
my
headbanger kind of stuff.
Well, my father had thick hair. And I know I'm losing some up here. It's very thin. But my father had nice thick hair for like he was 65 and it fell out. And he went to the doctor. The doctor's like, yeah, but it's not unusual to have hair. He said, it is when you lose it all in 6 months. Anyway. And then it would grow back and then it would fall out again. And it's back to normal for him. He said, yeah, it was just stress. I just needed they were overworking at work. And I went, Dad, you've been to war. You've done this. I don't ever remember this happened to you. And sometimes it's just the weird type of jobs that go into it. Like I said, when my father was in the military, it didn't bother him at all to go work, 14, 15, 16-hour days. And then when he retires, he does that. And he said he was more stressed out and was just like, okay. So yeah, it's one of those things, but
thyroid can mess you up. Real good. Yeah. I got to go. I know No Heart has a really cool question there, but I have my own thoughts about that kind of a thing. So about what actually evil is. But yeah. I got to head out, and thank you guys for having me on and inviting me in. So
you're more than welcome to hang out whenever you want with us. Hey, really quick, let us know what you're up to this week.
This week, so we every Sunday once again is going to be Traveler. We will have a Monday with the Godforsaken once again, and all throughout that week. I am going to this week it's kind of like tomorrow. I'll probably do a video or something, maybe with Shauna or something, whoever's around, and I'll do my the mind's eye. I usually do that on a Wednesday where I talk about ways to go ahead and game master or give examples, because I've been doing that lately, showing other people how they game, how I would do it, just so it had an example that I can base against, and come up with some ideas on how to better game master that way. But other than that, next week it's going to be like I'm free for doing all kinds of things, so I'm just going to be chilling at home, no work, so I'm just having a staycation and enjoying my 7 days off in a row, so which I need. I haven't had a break since we had the Christmas, and it was just like you want to tear out your hair.
Oh right. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Christmas
So-
vacation is only a vacation really for the kids, not anybody else.
Yeah, it was hectic for me, and I haven't had a break yet. So my manager, the full manager, like the store man, I'm floor operations manager, but my head guy, he already had his break and everything. And another guy, he's like the shipper receiver, he's had his break, and I'm the only one who's like still on that edge, and I need that days off, otherwise I'm gonna go crazy here, so finally I'm gonna have some yay, and I'm gonna be doing a lot of painting, so a lot of board game miniature painting. So
Oh, good.
that's coming up.
Sounds fun.
All righty,
Thank you for
Thank you
joining
later.
us tonight.
we'll talk to you guys later.
All right, take care. Here, I'm going to bring up something with these saying evil alignment games and parts. It's fine if you're going to do paranoia. It's fine if you're going to do characters that are supposed to kind of stab each other in the back. I think the problem is if you're playing a normal 5e campaign, is most players are going to act evil towards each other rather than acting evil towards, in other words, of being like a small little mafia group where they're all loyal to each other.
Right.
Instead, they look as evil as an excuse to destroy each other. And that's the problem that I have with it. The other problem is, as a DM, and this is my real view, I don't want you playing evil characters. It's not fun for me.
Well, I don't mind evil. There is some there are some pitfalls. There's a lot of pitfalls of trying to run an evil aligned game. I'm going to be one. I'm actually starting one, not this Saturday, but next Saturday. It's going to be evil aligned game. But I have faith in, you have to have faith in the DM that he knows what he's doing. That's the first rule. It can't be a new guy. Hey, I'm about ready to run an evil campaign. It needs to be somebody you know or at least game with for a while before jumping into that one. And like it or hate it, the Suicide Squad movies are a good example of running evil players that are that are basically forced to do good because of something over their head. Yeah, be evil, but this is what's going to happen.
The problem that I have with most evil is people look at that as a release of doing anything meaningful, and then they tend not to have things backlash on them. And D&D is kind of bad because levels determine on how easy it is to take you out, whereas in other systems that are skill-based, a bunch of villagers can still take out a party.
I agree. There is a weird dance you have to do with it, but it's evil campaign part. It's an evil party that has a gold dragon who's lawful good. Basically says, you fuck ups have done bad, and it's time for you to pay your debt to society. I want you to bring this. But it's a really weird. The DM has got to be on top of his game.
I'm going to say this much, and it really depends on the DM and what he wants to do and the type of players. There are a few things. Here's the big pitfalls are the players. It's not the players tend. How do I want to? This is when I was younger. I'm not saying necessarily more mature players can't do it, but in many times when I was doing with the players were using it as an excuse to say, well, my character does it because they're evil, and it allows them to do the worst things to each other rather than doing that. And the other part is that there could be a lot of bad blood if you start doing that with each other. But
taking the other people on your team has got to be like rule number 2.
Well, I mean, there's certain boundaries that need to be in there. It's just like when people say PvP. I'm not really against PvP. What I'm against is the way players do PvP. I think that players should be. How do I want to put this? Is if anyone remembers the Game of Thrones, where finally there should be coming towards a climax, where you say, look, once the players do a PvP, one of you is going to die. Period. Number one, one of the characters is going to die, and number two is that battle is not allowed to occur until the end of the campaign. You can get close, but you're not allowed to actually pull out the weapon and fight until you say, okay, one of my characters is going to die. You can't stab each other. You can talk. You can even throw fists. Something that's non-lethal, but you're not allowed to. I think that's the problem that I've had with most players is they want to use evil as an excuse to do whatever they want with no boundaries and no consequences.
Yeah, that's just. I have a
And,
problem with good players though too. I mean, not half-ass. Half measures drive me crazy. And if you read comic books, a lot of the heroes are half measures.
yeah, but here's the other part you have to remember about that. If they didn't do half measures, your comic would pretty much end very quickly.
Yeah, and I trust me, I understand the argument. And I mean, me and Shadows got into it. It's like, what if Batman killed Joker? I'm like, well, X amount, thousands of people will still be alive.
Well, I'm not arguing about that, but here's the problem that comes down to it is, and this is why I like having good characters. There's no moral dilemma. There's no questioning where things are going. There's, the problem with I have with evil characters is unless there's a redemption arc, there's not much in it. Now, don't get me wrong. There's certain systems, like you talk about Exalted, go play an Abyssal. An Abyssal is inherently evil, but the question is, are you trying to redeem yourself? It's very much like Elric here. You may be doing evil things, but you're not trying to be an evil person, which you're still evil, but you're trying to reclaim who you are. Vampire's a good example of this too. You're not. You can claim to be a good person, but you're going to break down. There are consequences for it, and that's one of the things I like. The problem that I have with it is all too often people just use it as a way of, I can use my full power without any consequences on it. I said, well, it's not fun for me as a GM all the time. I mean, there's sometimes like, I want you to just open up your can of whoop ass and have fun with it. But even the evil characters, and this is one of the great things about the Marvel game, was they couldn't get experience points unless they killed the PCs with certain. They couldn't just kill the PC. If they killed the player character, they got no experience. They had to do one of the traps or something for the player character, and only then, if they died, could they get the experience.
That's weird.
But no, because it's very comic book tropish. Why didn't you just shoot him? Well, you didn't shoot him because he wouldn't gain the experience.
I'm sorry, but I've always been a big fan of the Punisher.
Well, but you know what? To me, the Punisher was kind of boring.
I'm not going to argue that. It was just, like I said, half measures just drive me up the damn wall.
Well, there's a time to do it, and there's a time not to. I mean, I enjoyed watching. I was reading Warlord, and for the comic, and but there should be a climax at the end. It shouldn't just be, oh, I just killed this person, we're done. The problem that I have with it is like, okay, if you kill the Joker, then you don't have a recurring character.
Then you have Harley Quinn, or I get what you're saying. It's like, and also what depends on how you look at evil, because Dr. Freeze was evil, right? But he was just trying to save his wife.
Dr. Freeze is one of the more interesting evil characters, is what I want to say. And that's the way they did it later. Is he has motivations, you have understandings, and he's a sympathetic evil character.
Right.
That's what I think is missing for a lot of stuff. Is, are your characters sympathetic? I'm not saying that you can't do evil. It's the problem I have with it's the parties and the players doing it. It's not that you can't. If you want to go over and you want to play Genghis Khan and you want to do stuff, but I don't know about you. I don't want to have to deal with rape. I don't want to have to deal with torture. I don't want to have to deal with a lot of this stuff. Yes, there are times to it, and maybe that should be off board, but I don't.
That's always been one of my hard rules. No, I am not here to work out your rape fantasy.
Well, it's and we say rape fantasy, but in some cases it's it's used as punishment or things like that. The problem I have with that is, and I'm not saying that you can't get good stories out of it. It's just, one is, do I really want to deal with the player that does that, with their character? That's
right.
That's one. I'm not saying it doesn't. The other part is I want there to be moral dilemmas, and most evil characters don't have moral dilemmas. That's the problem that I have. Is it's the question of, a perfect example is if you want to go for Spider-Man, do I save the bus or do I save Mary Jane? There's your moral dilemma. and if you go over for some of the evil characters, they're just like, well, my opponent's more important. the bus is just going to distract me and let my opponent get away. Like, well, that's true. Okay, you stopped it, but there's what's your repercussions? Well, I don't really care. All right, that's the problem that I have with some of that. Is it's one thing to play a tortured evil character that's trying to redeem themselves and saying, okay, they'll slide back into that or things like that. Is that morally ambiguous character? That's a bit different, but it's you'll just have to deal with it. Shadow said he had good luck with his party doing that, but there are sometimes you just want to play the mad insane. How do I want to put this? Is you want to play someone that's mad and insane and just drive off and have fun in a post-apocalyptic adventure, and I said, okay, that would be all right, but how does it work with everyone? That's sometimes the problem with having with
not
evil
everybody's going to buy into the same thing. No, that's more than fair.
Well, actually, you know what, the good one for that is called Wicked Ones, where you play the monsters and you don't play good monsters, but that's built into the game. But guess what happens? Every you do your heist or your whatever. Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm not necessarily against body horror in certain cases. It's just I don't like inflicting it. If I don't like the PCs inflicting such things, which is the difference. And just like whenever I play, if I'm a DM and I'm playing the evil character, I expect my evil NPCs to die. That's maybe they'll escape or something. But yeah, well, but I don't want to. I just didn't find as much fun. I didn't find as interesting for the characters. Now, don't get me wrong. I want someone that always does the goody two shoes stuff, but I do want the, are we doing the right thing? Are we not doing the right thing? Are we doing this? And morally ambiguous is sometimes like Conan was morally ambiguous. He was okay. I fought. I killed these people. It was me against them. But he didn't try killing off innocent people. He didn't try doing this. It was, you fight me, I fight you, I kill you. I'll protect the fair maiden, but I'll steal the jewels from somewhere else. Conan was pretty much what you consider a neutral character. Of, I'm not going to. And when they talk about the defining of evil, I like Jordan Peterson's, which is evil is where you're going to inflict pain and suffering on others, even when it works against you. Whereas good, well, that's my definition of good. Good is one of those that will aid others when it does not directly benefit them. So
that's a very non-selfish good. That is a true good. I can get behind that thought. That's not me, but I can definitely get behind that.
But I mean, there's a difference, and there's nothing wrong with playing neutral characters. Neutral means that you'll help out your friends, but it may mean that you're not going to stick your neck out unless they give you some money for something. It's in other words, neutral will do what's in their best interest for them and their own. Good will do something that's against their best interest for other people because they believe in the principle of it. And evil will do something that's against their interest, even when it, to inflict pain and suffering on others. That's what it comes down to. So it's like, well, what benefit do you gain? This is why I say that there's a torturer. What benefit do you gain by torturing someone when you can just kill them? Well, I want to make them suffer. Why? You're taking a lot of time and effort to do that when you could spend that time and effort doing something else more productive.
I get that.
That's sometimes why but yeah, that's to me, good is more altruistic. Neutral is selfish, and evil is vindictive and cruel. Especially even when it doesn't benefit them so much. And I don't think anyone. What is it, Ramsay Bolton? No one's going to say that guy was a good in any way, shape, or form.
Oddly enough, he was one of my favorite characters because he was true to himself.
Who I liked was Stannis.
Stannis was a dick.
Stannis is you knew what you got. I mean, that was a
he was
a true lawful neutral character, and actually, he was probably more. He was the one that stood there, and I said, it was funny because he was the one that stood against everything. If you did something wrong, he would punish you, but then he would reward you in equal measure. Well, well, his hounds weren't so good to him at the end of the series.
Karma. Actually, no, there was a line in that show. I don't know if it got it from a book. I don't remember from the book because it's been forever since I read Dancing with Dragons. If you expect a happy ending, you have not been paying attention. And I'm like, see, that line is just a wonderful line because it works for almost everything, even in real life,
Well, my favorite character in the whole thing was Varys. Varys and Tyrion.
Oh, the spider, yeah. Varys was cool. I like Tyrion. I thought Tyrion was just a fun character.
I like Tyrion. I like Tywin. I liked Olenna Martell.
Tywin was a good example of Nikolai Machiavelli as the prince.
Well, he was, but I mean there's someone that would be lawful. That there was someone that was lawful evil for certain things, or possibly lawful neutral. But the mountain would be what you'd consider pretty much chaotic evil. A lot of times when people look at it, I'll rape them, I'll bust open their heads, I'll do this just out of spite.
Yeah, he had a change of pace after. I mean, his character did change there towards the end, at least with the series. I have no idea how the show's going to.
The mountain, or you think the Hound?
Oh, the Hound. I'm thinking the Hound. I'm sorry.
No. The Hound had a true change of pace. But see, that's the kind of evil that I want to see. Is I want to see that arc of redemption.
Right.
Those are the more interesting characters. Is you may start off as evil and say, you know what, I'm going to have a change of heart. I'm going to try redeeming myself. That's where it gets interesting. But the problem that I have, and that's why I said like Exalted with the Abyssals. There are times you can play the completely evil characters and see what happens. But I think the important part with that is the DM is you have to really make sure that consequences have meaning. And in a D&D sense is the if you're going to be a champion of evil, and that's what people forget is the old D&D was a cosmological battle on the material plane.
Right.
There was real good, there was real evil. Orcs were not going to be good. Orcs orcs represented an evil deity that set out to destroy all of the other demi-humans. There was no redeeming thing about Grumish. And the other part is this I always want to say is half orcs were not from willing consummation between parents. And when you think of it that way, it's like, oh, that makes a lot more sense. And if you actually read the player's handbook, it says only 5 or 10% even look like what we think are half orcs. Most of them appear to be just orcs with the old pig heads. But yeah, it's like they'll breed with anything, and it's not consensual. And I think that's what people forget about. I said, yeah, but that's the way they're represented. They're an evil. They were a real threat. Now, sometimes you could deal with them and hope to hold them off. But if you play a Warhammer orc, Warhammer orcs are just forces in nature. They're neither really good nor evil. They're just orcs.
Orcs and Warhammer amuse the ever living fuck out of me. They just really do.
Well, they're supposed to. They're supposed to be fun. But if you actually look at it, the orc isn't really doing it out of maliciousness. The orc's doing it because that's just the way the orc is. It's
Truth to thyself.
And we fight, we do this, we kick each other, we run away. I have no problems with orcs in that aspect. It's some of the other races that are, there's a reason that orcs aren't really corrupted. There aren't any chaos orcs.
Good to know. But with that being said, I'm going to wrap this up. It is 12:04. For those who are out there still watching us, thank you. Thank you for putting up with us as long as you have. Have a very nice day tomorrow. For those who get to spend tomorrow off or have tomorrow off in it. And for those who don't, I'm sorry. You made your own decisions. You made life decisions. It might be work. Work is work. Anyways, I'm rambling and I'm tired. I hope everybody out there had a good evening. Happy Alcohol Awareness Day. Well, it was yesterday, aka Valentine's Day, or Single Awareness Day, to be more honest. And we'll be doing this again soon.